Started. We're live.
We're live. We are live. Bless up, family, and welcome to another episode of Constructive Convos, bringing the conversation back to black. Today, we have a pretty dope conversation in store for the family. We are going to be talking about if we are black enough. I know that sounds like a crazy question, but you'll kind of understand a little bit more as we get a little further into the conversation. So let's introduce who we have thus far on the panel. We have our brother B2.
Bless up, family. Big up everyone up in the chats. Big up to everyone in the panels.
We have brother Scattered Minds.
Yo, sorry about that slow response. I'm just eating still. Big up to everybody. Blessings and respect.
Yes, and happy Ramadan to you, brother Scattered Minds. Always, you know, keeping it righteous. Uh, and we have our brother Witness.
Yes, peace and blessings to all the righteous people out there listening, and to all the unrighteous people, go crawl under a rock.
And I am the one and only melanated goddess. And yeah, hopefully some other CC family would pop through, but we'll see how the conversation goes. So yeah, back to the topic. The topic is, am I black enough? What I know y'all thinking, what does melanated mean about that? Am I black enough? This all started, we in the hangout, we're chatting, we're vibing, we're building like we always do. And we start talking about this collective, collective, how you say it? Collectivism.
Collectivism, yeah.
Collectivism. There you go. Collectivism. Um, Scattered, you wanna kind of tell the family about what collectivism is?
Yeah, I'll jump into that. I think so yeah, we were in the back chat just having a little conversation earlier about some of the things around the black community, and this topic came up in regards to the how as a community we tend to take a lot more of a collective approach to things than perhaps other communities, specifically, for example, the white community. And an example of this, for example, is when a white person goes on television and does something stupid, most white people aren't sitting in their house thinking, oh man, he's making us look stupid. Yet for a lot of time as black people, if a black person goes on television and does something stupid, we all kind of feel responsible for that as a community. We're all like, yo, like you're, and we all feel responsible for kind of calling that person into line. So we do have this sort of collectivist attitude and mentality, which to some extent I think has been positive and been good for us as a community. Yet, or it was when it started. But I think there's questions about, is collectivism still good for us as a community, or is it still good in the way we're using it today? Or is it becoming a part, like almost kind of like, I mean, what's his name? My uncle Dan Juma, down at Speaker's Corner, he makes a joke because I mean in Islam there's a term of making tech fair, like when you say somebody isn't a Muslim, like someone who proclaims themselves to be a Muslim. If you say you're not a Muslim anymore because you've done this or done that, it's called making tech fair. And Dan Juma makes a joke about making black fair on people, and removing them from the black community basically. And I think on one level it's funny as a joke, but to some extent there are cases and times when we are like, there's almost like a bar and a standard set where we like, you're not black, do you know what I mean? Like you're doing
Mm,
how black people behave, you're doing that. And sometimes it could be maybe a positive thing, but other times
right.
it could be like a situation where where it's just almost imposing on other black people and what it is to be black and how it is to be black. Like, I remember growing up, sorry, I'll just give a quick example. I remember once when I was growing up, I used to want to be a doctor. And I remember telling the girl that, and she was like, what are you, a bounty? As in, are you like a bounty is like a coconut chocolate where it's black on the outside, white on the inside. And yeah,
Oh, the bounty, the name of the candy bar.
exactly. And that was her response to, yeah.
Damn, that's messed up.
And that was her response to me wanting to be a doctor. So I think sometimes, yeah. So
So
sometimes I think we do, it can be destructive to ourselves. But yeah, sorry. So go ahead, sis.
no. I wasn't trying to cut you because I wanted like for me, this is like a real heavy topic, right? But when I say heavy, I don't mean it's like super serious and yada yada yada. I feel like we should be just transparent and like just because that right there, what you just dropped, not trying to like change the subject, but it's as deep as the conversation yesterday on Anita's show about colorism and how dark skinned people uh, um, saying certain things that are harmful and hurtful to other dark skinned people. So to me, it's very similar because this young woman this is not you wasn't getting that energy from someone outside the community. You getting that energy from someone inside the community. That's crazy. Like
Mm.
like literally, if you would have said, "Yo, you want to be a shotter," she would have been like, "Yo, for real." Like she probably would have been like bigging that up. You know what I'm
100,
saying? Like that's crazy.
100, definitely. Um,
Man.
you got early comment. I'll big up to 1-1. 1-1 saying, can't lie. When a black person does something terrible, I feel shame. Dalton Grant made me feel shame. Dalton Grant made me feel shame, for example. I know Dalton Grant was a high jumper, but what did he do to make you feel shame? I don't know. Is he old? Is he an old? I don't
What
know.
he what did he do?
That's what I want to know. Did he flop the jump or something?
He probably did he take some steroids or something like that?
Possibly, but not that I know. Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
1-1 will
Well,
come back and let me know one night at some point.
what you was gonna say, witness, on that topic?
Personally, on that topic, if you can you hear me all properly?
Yeah, we can hear you.
What I wanted to say on the topic is, who are these people? Who are they?
Who
Men
are
and
what
women
people?
who are black who think that somehow they have the right to dictate to other black people whether they are black enough. Who are they? They're no better, they're no more special than any other black man or black woman there, but they feel they have the right to dictate this is how, or this is what black people do. This is how we speak, this is how we talk. We don't get involved in politics. If somebody says they want to become a doctor, oh, well, that's not, the thing to do. You're a bounty. Who came up with that? Or you want to be a policeman or a soldier, and apparently that's not black enough. Who the hell are they? The black police? They are no better, no special than anyone, but they feel that they have the right to dictate to other people. No, this is not what a black woman is supposed to do. No, this is not what a black man is supposed to do. We complain about the supremacy system, which is suppressing us. Let's be honest. We have a lot of people within our own community, if you call it a community, who are suppressing black people, preventing any form of freedom of expression. You cannot behave in a certain way if it doesn't follow the black code, whatever the hell that is. And you have your black card revoked because you don't talk black or you're not from the area that they consider black enough. I mean, they're so stupid. I mean, you can take this discussion to a geopolitical situation. You can look at it in the UK where you have dumbos who think that black people only reside in South London. They suddenly come into contact with a black woman or black man who's from Ireland or Wales with a Welsh or Irish accent, and they can't mentally comprehend it. They're like, oh, I thought every black person lived in Kennington or Stockwell or Brixton. And you can look at it in America. You might have a whole bunch of black people who think that black folk only live in New York City and the Bronx or Brooklyn. They suddenly come into a black person who's come into contact with a black man or black woman who's from the state of Oregon, and they're like, "What? You've got black folk out there?" It's this kind of ignorance that you think that black people are supposed to live in a certain area, they're
Is
supposed
that
to
me?
look in a certain way, they're supposed to have certain political beliefs, certain religious beliefs, certain gender beliefs. The woman is supposed to behave in a certain way, whereas I, the black man, I'm supposed to be the king behaving in another way. I mean, where is this book? The black book. Does anyone know where it is? The black Bible.
Well. So then, okay, so when you bring up, like you brought up a whole lot of topics, I don't know where the black book is to answer your question. I don't know where this black book is with all of these rules, right? And I think that these rules are kind of developed based on people's individual experience, right? Um, and I guess the more exposure you have to different types of black people, then the idea is that your eyes will be open. You know what I mean? Like until I started building with you guys over here in the UK, I was, I might have thought, like I would have heard one of you guys speaking and like, oh, this is a white person speaking. Now I know that black people in the UK speak this way. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a whole different exposure and experience that I'd never had. I'm sure there's things
Whoa.
about what.
Sorry, 1 second. No. I just read one man's comment. Keep going, please. I thought I was on mute.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure there's things that I've shared with you guys that you're like, really? That's how they do that in the U.S. You know what I'm saying? And you might learn certain things about the U.S. So, I think that people who have limited experiences that, all black people are this way. Oh, I thought everybody who had locks was Rasta. Like what? Do you have locks? Does that mean you smoke weed? What? Like where is this book? This, like you said, where is this book that if you're this way, then you do this? That's not doesn't even make any sense.
Well, I mean, at some point, I guess it came from somewhere, and I think, as a community or as people, I think we always tended to be a bit more communitarian than perhaps other groups. So, like even back in Africa,
we had that village mentality.
Exactly. And I think to some extent we've always had that kind of, let's try and work together, or we all represent each other to something. And so I think when it came to after colonization and after that whole post era of after slavery, after Jim Crow, so on and so forth, there was kind of a use in terms of policing ourselves, in terms of, hey, this is how we ought to behave, this is how we ought to act. And there was kind of a use in terms of coming together as a collective to fight against the joint what was it called? The joint, oppression.
Opposition.
You're facing. Yeah, that's it.
I like that word that you used, policing ourselves. Who the hell are the black police to tell other black people what they can or can't do? Who the hell are they?
One moment. I think at some point, it got to that place where we were not just policing ourselves, or where the policing of ourselves has became somewhat extreme, and we've I don't know, man. It's difficult, but I think there are benefits to being a community and to being a collective, as well as there are negatives.
Collective is sorry. Continue, please.
But when you were talking, Scattered, what I was hearing was like, it sounds like even though we were like a village mentality, we still had different villages, right? It wasn't just like one big old village. It was different villages. So right now, the black community is not a monolith. We're not like one way. So we have different villages within the larger community. We have different, and when I say different villages, I mean, you might have your black doctors and your black attorneys and neurosurgeons and so forth, and they're going to conduct themselves way different than the village of black hustlers or strippers or gangbangers or whatever you want to call them. They're going to be, but they're part of the bigger community. You see what I'm saying? And both people need to realize that they're just a different village. You know what I'm saying? The people in Alabama aren't the same way as people in Connecticut, but they part of the American identity. You see what I'm saying? Like, so if we can kind of relate in that way, you know what I'm saying? Then we should be able to. You should be able a black person who may have a different way of expressing themselves or a different way of dressing. They should be able to interact with another black person who has a different way of dressing, and their dress not be a huge barrier. Like I shop in Saks Fifth Avenue, and you shop in what's y'all store, Primark. See, I'm learning y'all stuff. So now I'm gonna judge you. Like, really?
Yeah, no.
I agree. The collective is good, but the collective becomes a pain in the backside when the collective dictates to Black women and Black men who are individuals how they should behave. The collective is there to guide, to protect, to nurture. It's not there to harass or to bully or to dictate to, like it's some kind of a military dictatorship. This is how you're supposed to be. Oh, you don't dress like this, so you ain't Black enough.
Y'all want to see us be a collective? Let somebody Black be in the damn Olympics. Boy, we know how to be a collective like a mofo, boy.
Yeah, for sure, exactly. But we have that mentality to come together and I suppose and to support each other and stuff like that. But and I get like, okay, I think policing is perhaps a bad idea or the wrong way to go about it. But as a community, like I do think that I mean even yesterday in yesterday's conversation when we were talking about relationships on my channel, we discussed the idea of, you know, was it social policing and social and how, you know, when you are, you know, when we have situations where we have fatherless children and things like this so often, where you have single parent households, where you have all these kinds of situations that go on. As a community, do we not need to step in sometimes and say, yo, that's not how we do things in our community? Some of these behaviors need to be policed in our community, isn't
right?
That,
I think
what behaviors though? Could you give an example though? I'd like to know.
He said like fatherlessness. He says like like abandoning your children or neglecting your spouse or things like that. You know, I think that to me that's going back to the way that it used to be, where you would have the elders intervene. You know, you know, you would go to, you know, people who have you know, who you feel have wisdom to provide support in that area, and that's a form of social policing. I don't see anything wrong with that.
The problem with that is we are now reaching a stage where it has become common amongst too many Black men to spread their seed and not actually look after their offspring. It's like having baby mamas every part of London. It has now become the norm, so that if you, a righteous Black sister or Black brother, try to correct or facilitate or try to guide, should I say, you are then seen as the enemy. We've now reached that stage.
I think that social policing, I think the first place that social policing should come from is, you know, the head of the village, which would be the elders. You see what I'm saying? I think that, you know, the correct, you know, format for that would be the elders, or, you know, like come from within your family. The problem is that nowadays people aren't, you know, if your parents ain't even living right, they thinking it twice to correct you. You see what I'm saying? So we have like that part is kind of broken down. But I think that when you're talking about like the right way to say things, or your family should be a collective, right? Your family should have an internal collective type of a culture, and then that should spread out. So the idea is hopefully if all these different families have a similar collective culture, then you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm expressing it correctly, but yeah. Well, I will say
I
this.
think,
You know,
I think you were kind of expressing it correctly. Sorry to jump in there, but I think that's exactly how it has to work in terms of, and I think that's perhaps the issue that Witness has with the current form of social policing, is because I think Black culture and what means to be Black has become to some extent denigrated and degenerated to the point where, like, you know, being like, you know, a certain kind of way, like the hip hop generation, the hip hop culture is now seen as Black culture, and if you don't fit into those standards and things, then you're policed out of the community. Whereas FR culture was still in the sort of, you know, traditional African cultures that we had back on the continent to some extent, where we had some different kinds of value systems, where elders were respected, where wisdom was respected, where we had these different types of proverbs and all these types of teaching fundamentals. I think you might feel differently about policing in the community, because it wouldn't necessarily be on the lines of, oh, you have to dress like this or you have to speak like this, but it'll be more about values and principles.
Right. And you know what? I think this is important to talk about, and I'm just going to share like how this whole collective thing and putting the pressure for all of us to be the exact same, you know, and actually questioning someone's blackness because they're kind of outside the box or is dangerous. I'll bring up the example, you know, from my perspective as a black woman, the whole hair situation, right? So when I watched the movie Good Hair, right, and made by Chris Rock,
Yeah, so that.
It's meant to be a comedy, right? And but I didn't find anything funny in watching it. You know, me and my serious self, when I watched the movie, it made me kind of feel ashamed when he was breaking down the chemicals in the perm and why women were addicted to harming themselves. And it made me feel like we, again, when my mind is collective, like, yo, we out here looking stupid. You know, other groups, we over here poisoning ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they got these Asian women shaving their heads, and we sewing their hair on our head. And I was like, well, was never in the big into the weave thing, but I definitely used to perm my hair, and I was like, bump that, no more. I mean, I had, you know, quote unquote gone natural a couple of different times. Sister Nine Ether looking for the link, y'all. I had gone natural a couple times, and but I was like, this is the last time. And when I went natural that last time, I started to like criticize sisters for perming their hair. I started to criticize sisters for putting weave in their hair. I started to tell them, you're not conscious. How you conscious and you got weave? How you conscious and you such and such? You trying to look like a white woman. I mean, just condemning them. How is that unity? How is that? How am I treating my sister? She not ready. She not at that place. How am I embracing her? How am I showing love? How am I this quote unquote goddess? And I don't even got love for my sisters. I had to check myself, not checking them. You feel me? So my sister wanna rock her weave, rock your weave. That joint look nice. You know what I'm saying? And when she wanna show her hair, I'm like, man, you was hiding that beautiful crown. You look beautiful. Whenever she's ready, not until then. I had to learn that. You see what I'm saying? Because that is embracing. That is love. That's gonna bring people closer to you instead of pushing them away. So when somebody tells you you talking white and all this stupidness, you know, I don't even understand how they want to call themselves pro-black, but you only a certain type of pro-black. You only pro certain type of people. That's stupid.
100. But do you think there are gaps in our community between the different perceived types of groups? And do you think there is a way to really build that gap, or do you think it's just going to keep getting further and further because the perceptions are like, oh, you're over there with those lot talking like that, you think you're better than us, and then the other perception is like, you lot over there, like, you think you're tougher than us, and then there's other perceptions like, oh, you women are feminists now and you're ruining the family, and the other perception is, oh, these men ain't doing nothing. Do you know what I mean? So you have all these different sort of cross sections across the community. And how do you bring them together?
You can't. In order for it to come together, people have to go out, step out of their echo chamber. You know, you have to interact with black men and black women in different parts of the community. You don't just stick to your little hamlet in southeast London and you think that's where black people are. Go to Scotland. You'll come into contact with black people in Glasgow. Or if you don't want to go all the way up north, they go to Yorkshire. You'll come into contact with black people in Leeds, Bramley, Doncaster.
What was we talking about the other day, Witness, about the black Americans that was doing what? They was farmers or something?
Yes, it was a brilliant, I've seen a couple of documentaries, but I've always said this, the best image I have ever seen of black Americans was in a superhero movie called Logan. And there's a part in it when he's trying to escape from people who are trying to kill him and Professor X, because Logan is Wolverine.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
on the way, when they're trying to escape from all these bad people, their car gets damaged. They're on the motorway, and then a pickup truck pulls up to help them. And in the pickup truck is the black man, a black woman, and their son. And attached to the pickup truck is one of these stable things they have for horses. So they've got a horse. So they come out, they help Logan and Professor X, and they take them to their place. And it's amazing. It's a beautiful depiction of black love. It's a dedicated father with his wife, both of them black. They have a son, they have land, they're farmers, they have stables, horses. You know, the son is into rodeo. He rides horses a lot. When Logan goes into his room to talk to him, he sees a poster of a bucking bronco, a rodeo rider. And so it was a brilliant depiction. They weren't like being stereotypically loud, aggressive, eating chicken and all this, listening to all kinds of strange music. They were a good, wholesome, loving Black American family. It's just a damn shame they got killed off, though.
I was gonna say
that was the dumbest part. Yeah, when they killed them off. But that was it. They didn't adhere to any stereotypes. It just showed you something that's actually part of America's history. You have got black men and black women who have land, acres of land. They're farmers. They're ranchers. I've even seen documentaries where you have black people in Arkansas who have their own black rodeo association. But I'm sure there are going to be black people looking at that saying, whoa, y'all are weird. Why y'all living out there? Why y'all riding horses? What is this dumb, ignorant mentality where some black people feel that they can define what a black man or black woman does? Being black is not the music you listen to. Being black is not your clothing. Being black is not the way you talk. It is a state of mind, is your knowledge of your history. And the way you feel about whether it's Pan-Africanism or loving your fellow brother and sister and trying to bring them together. It's not about your accent or way you dress. That's just pure ignorance. And there are too many black people, in my opinion, who've gone down this road, who've now become the black police. They dictate to other black people, no, you're not black enough. Your black card is now revoked. So you're in the coon section. Well, to hell with you. Crawl back under that ignorant rock you came from. You mean nothing. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little excited.
You woke up for a witness tonight, boy. A witness or one. You a witness. I felt it in the panel. I had to come on, man. I'm feeling you, witness. I'm feeling you, man.
Glad, pleasure to have you here, 90 to 91.
Witness, you look like you've been going to Pure Gym or something.
No, that's how I am always.
That's that natural African type of thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's all eba and amala and egusi stew.
So wait, witness. So do black people do yoga? Oh my God! Is that
yes. People will be shocked to know that I am a black man, and for years I practiced yoga. Wow. Am I now outside? Is my black card now being revoked? Guess what? There were actually classes I went to where there were black women in the classes. And there were classes that I went to where I was actually taught by black men. Now, were these people being sellouts for turning up to yoga classes and teaching yoga? Of course not.
My friend's a yoga teacher, and he's all black.
Exactly.
Apparently. Hey.
But 90 to 99, have you seen this black Bible that dictates how a black person should act? Because I keep looking for it. I can't find it. But I see the black police everywhere saying, no, that's not a black thing to do. You ain't talking black. You ain't acting black. So can someone tell me where this black Bible is so I can read it and learn what the laws of blackness are, please?
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing you have to do is you have to wear your pants and show your underwear, witness. That's what you have to do. You have to pull down the pants and show your underwear.
What, like a punk in prison, symbolizing the fact that you're ready to be sodomized? I don't think so.
Oh Lord, have mercy. I don't know.
That's where it came from, though. That was the way you let it know that you were either somebody's property or you were open to man love. You were called a punk. And you were called a punk. That's where punk came from. But And the people who were in prison got released out of prison, took it out on the streets, and then a bunch of dumbos started picking up on it, and now they do it thinking they're cool, not really understanding that you're symbolizing to certain people that you want to get sodomized.
Yeah.
So, Nanita, what's your thoughts about this whole collective identity thing? You think it's what are your thoughts? You think it's like a positive thing? Do you think it's something that needs to be kind of tweaked, where like Black people, there's like one collective identity? So, Black person does good, we all get the shine. A Black person does bad, we all get the heat. And then also like there's one acceptable way to be Black.
What do you mean? There's one acceptable way.
So when you step outside of that acceptable way, then you get heat from you're not Black enough. That's what the topic of the show is. I'm not Black enough.
Right. Yeah, I got you. See, I'm not gonna lie, man. I think I've definitely probably been through a time or a period whereby, yeah, I've definitely revoked cards.
Come on, be honest. Come on.
Nah, I've definitely mate.
No, you can't back down now.
All right, Whitney, it's all right. I'm not going nowhere. Yeah,
I mean, cards based off of what? What were you taking cards away for?
Oh man.
Come on.
Yeah, well, when I was at uni, I was quite radical in it. Like I was quite radical. In fact, people reminded me how radical I was. I didn't probably realize. But if you was a guy, especially if you was a guy that I kind of not like rated or kind of liked, but you know what I mean? If I noticed you, obviously now we're talking about when I'm young in it, so there's gonna be a little bit of, you know what I mean, pompousness in it or whatever. But yeah, man, like if I thought I rated you and I see you kind of dealing outside the program, that weren't a good look for me, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
So I definitely revoked. Yeah. What type of people you are dealing with card?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Was there anything else that you took you took cards away from you? You felt like they was moving kind of funny?
To be fair, that was always my main and still remains, if I was to be honest, but not as bad. That was my main bugbear, man, to be honest, in terms of Blackness.
I'm trying. I just remembered like my first interaction with the girl that I felt like I'm trying to think of like that feeling. I really felt like she not Black. She wasn't Black enough or something, right? And she talked real different. She's from a different part of America than I was, and I mean like just everything about like her norms were completely opposite to mine. And again, like just like Nanita said, I was really young. I didn't have any exposure to anything, and this is when I was in the military. And I remember, like she would say certain things that would trigger me, and so anyway, I remember the graduation day, when, your parents come and they celebrating such and such. And her mom was a white lady. And I was like, you're really white, right? Like, I was like, your mom is white, like white. Not like her mom was mixed race. Like her mom was a white lady. And I was in complete shock. Like, whoa. Because, I mean, I'm not saying she was like dark skinned, but she definitely, I thought she was 100% Black. I just thought she was like a light-skinned Black girl, like, And to me, the light bulb went off. Like, this is why I couldn't understand you. Like, this is why.
Mm-hmm.
And so, long story short, after that, me and the girl, we was at a different we went to the same area for our duty station, and we actually became kind of cool.
Oh,
Yeah, we actually became kind of cool because I was like,
you
I
understood
mean,
that there was
yeah, like it ain't your
done.
fault. You know what I'm saying? Like you just, she just wasn't raised in, around any of the same elements. Like even though I met black people who were like, let's say from the Midwest or the West Coast, if they had one or two or both black parents raising them, we had some sort of commonalities.
Mm,
Or there was even a way in which we had a desire to learn from one another. But with her, she literally felt like not a part of our group. So that,
mm,
that it was a little tension there. But prior to me knowing that, I'm saying my energy was like, yo, you not black. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, I was coming real aggressive. Like I don't like her. I don't like her. She thinks she's better than everybody else and
yeah. Mhm.
such and such. Yeah. So I I was probably one of them people that Witness is talking about. I had my black book and she ain't lined up with it, and I was coming kind of harsh.
I hear you.
I was harder on the man then, though. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I was.
Fully, yeah.
Huh?
Just revoke the card fully, yeah.
Yeah, man. Because like, yeah, man, and it wasn't just yeah, man. Yeah, the car. Yeah, yeah, I did. I can't even lie. Some man, like, I'm not gonna lie. Some man just run it. They used to run, man. Trust me. It was that bad. Some man would run to the top floor of the library. Now no one goes to the top floor, yeah. So you know when a man's looking sanctuary up there, so they really don't want the heat, man.
Mhm.
But yeah, I can admit to saying I was quite. I mean, yeah, it's only even when couple man recently in the last few years kind of reminded me, you know what I mean? But they also thanked me. How about that?
Okay.
That kind of stuff wasn't even that prevalent, to be honest with you. I mean, when I went into the military, yeah, when I went to the military, everybody was, you know, they was on a ex- expeditions, exploratory expeditions. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? They was it was a different type of situation. But when I was in high school, and it was completely segregated. There was one interracial couple in the entire school, like one, and it was a black girl dating a white boy, and everybody was like, "What the hell is going on here?" But outside of that, we didn't really, so we wasn't revoking cards for that. But like, if there was like a black girl or a black guy, and they was on the tennis, we was like, "You playing tennis? What the hell are you playing tennis?" Like, it was almost like it was only certain things we could do, and when you did something different, you catch hell. Like, I'm not saying it's right.
But that's
I
why I think it's important. Sorry to cut you, sis, but I'm sure you would agree. Like we, most of us are Londoners as black people or whatever, and we are very ignorant. That's something I could definitely admit to. Like or just as city folks in general. Do you know what I mean? We're very, very ignorant to what's outside of London. So I know one of my baptisms of fire, as it were, was going because I went to uni outside of London, but it was meeting black folk from different parts of England. Do you understand me? And in the first few months, I was just amazed that certain sounds were coming from certain people's mouths. Like I just couldn't believe it. Now, again, now as a big person, it sounds really, really naive. You understand what I'm saying to you? But
Mhm.
as a raw Londoner, that was really, we were Londoners. You know them, like when I was a youngster, you get me, we were Londoners. But so like for example, I met a guy and I'll never forget him. Like, I remember this is years ago. I met a guy. He was from Gloucester. Yeah, Gloucester. Now, them time there. Now, what was we doing?
Properly.
Huh?
Gloucester. It's Gloucester.
There
Gloucester.
you go, witness. And he had one Jerry curl, and he thought he was as fly as fuck. But we're looking at him like, what the fuck? You get me? And when he sees to talk and like witnesses, I mean, I wouldn't even try to do a Gloucester accent. I wouldn't even dare. But what I'm saying is I had to look it. I was literally looking in man's mouth to make sure that what I'm hearing is actually, because for us it was just like, wow, like people from Macclesfield. Have you ever heard a black person from Macclesfield speak? Oh my gosh, man. It was a matters. So yeah, man, we're definitely ignorant in London, as I said, what I'm really trying to say, especially as black people, probably, and because we obviously fashioned a kind of style, especially when you're younger. I think obviously as you get older and you mature, you kind of come out of that kind of that way of thinking, man. But London, black Londoners, yeah, we're not the nicest, man. I have to say, we're not the nicest. We're
But I
not
just
very
think it's
we're
a
not very
whole
accommodating.
I think it's an issue on the whole like diaspora, You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but
Because
I think
when
we
you when
have
you
to
think
put a
about it,
little emphasis on city folk, man. Cause wherever you go, city folk are just feisty. It's just like that, man.
nah, but what I'm saying is that this is okay. It's a reason why there's tension between, and I'm not saying all, but there's a reason why there's a tension between continental Africans and Africans like in the West, because they feel like you act differently. Like they don't want to be associated with Black Americans, right? Instead of them saying this is a different type of Black
Who
person.
doesn't want to be associated with Black American?
Definitely the continental Africans.
What do you mean, like Nigerians, Ghanaians, etc.?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Okay, okay, okay. Have you ever
And it's
asked? Okay, that's interesting. Have you ever
yeah,
asked why?
but I'm not just saying continental Africans. I'm saying that's why I said the diaspora. Because they feel like you behave differently, you act differently. Yes, it's a different language, it's a different historical a history that they have, historical events that occur to these people as opposed to these people. So then the result is going to be different. You understand? The experience is different. But instead of saying, we're all the same people who experience something different, it's like, nah, it's like a big divide. You see what I'm saying?
I think it's less now, though. To be honest, I think maybe back in the day that may have been more apparent because there wasn't
I
the.
will say it's improving, but I definitely feel like, you know, I don't know, that might be a separate conversation, but I'm just saying that because I mean my
I
family is
think
not
in
from
America
the
you might be
continent.
a little bit behind us as well in terms of the mixing of Africans and kind of those of the diaspora still. So I think you may be a little bit behind, man.
You said what?
I'm saying I think as a America generally may be a little bit behind in
Mhm.
terms of the integration of like Black Americans, as it were, and those from the what you call continental Africa,
Right.
because we've been in England, we've been, as you call it, mixing with them from, you know, everyone basically came over in the 60s and 70s and so forth.
I
Yeah.
agree with you. But
Mm.
I see
when
some.
you look at the mixture, right? When you look at the mixture, you have continental Africans migrating to England. You have people from the Caribbean immigrating to England, right?
Mm.
So it makes sense for people immigrating from different places to see themselves as just immigrants. But Black Americans don't see themselves as immigrants, so they look at other people coming as immigrants. Do you see what I'm saying? So
No,
that's
but
why.
yeah,
So
definitely.
that's
But that's what I'm
so
saying.
that's
That's
the
the
reason why it's
uniqueness
the
of Black America.
right, right.
Yeah.
So I'm agree. I'm we on the same page. You see what I'm
Mm.
saying? To include my family. You see what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like I've had numerous conversations with Black Americans, and they can't get past the cultural differences. And I guess my family is different, but maybe like matter of fact, I had a cousin I have a cousin. One time I posted something on Facebook. It was some ladies in Africa. They had they wraps around on their waist and stuff, and they was dancing. One lady had like a bowl on her head, and she was dancing with the bowl or whatever. And it looked like it was like some sort of like sisterhood gathering. It was a whole bunch of women of all these different ages, and they were clapping, and the other women were dancing. And I did some caption like, "Oh, I love how my people celebrate or embrace their femininity." I said something nice. And my cousin, her mom is my auntie. She said, "Oh, and what people would that be?"
Yeah, but you know what it is though, sis.
So when I said, my people from the diaspora, she didn't respond. She didn't respond to my comment because when I said my people, she want to know what people. She only think that her people speak her colonizer's Spanish language.
So she's Panamanian also. Then she's that
exactly
extraction,
and
right?
she's fluent in her Spanish, and she wants to deal in her Spanish. And girl, you know, freaking from Spain, get out my face. You see what I'm saying?
But you know, all I would say though, sis, and that's why when I try to speak to the I do try to make a point of this because I think it's really, really relevant in our different experiences. Do you understand? Because for me, Black Americans believe themselves to be American. Like, even with all the history, this, that, and the other, there's still that attachment. Whereas, for the most part, Black Britons, you know, there are a few exceptions, but mostly we identify with our parent country. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Whether that be an African one or one of the Caribbean, you know? We generally identify with our parent country. Generally, and again, it is changing, don't get me wrong. Whereas I think in America, just because of the politics of America, like once you get there, you're an American, innit? Like, and then obviously those Black persons that have been there for mourning, regardless, they're still American, which is fair enough still, but obviously it's still quite a, you know, it could be argued as a slight dichotomy, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's a bit of a paradox, isn't it, Carl? The same people that enslaved you, done the most wickedest thing. And I'm not even saying you, melanated, because I know you might be slightly different with me, but you know, the general Black Americans, you know what I mean? The same people that done the most horrific things to them, you're in the same place. Whereas we in Britain, with the history that we know, it didn't happen to us in Britain.
Right,
right. It happened to us in the West Indies, or you understand what I'm saying to you? And I think that makes a slight difference still.
So the people in Jamaica, though, probably.
I want to share something with you guys. Can you hear me?
Bless up, brother Shakara.
Can you see the screen? I'm going to share something with you. I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
Do you see your screen?
Yeah, we can see it. It's B2. B2. Click on the main screen so that the people watching could click on witness thing.
Is B2 there? I don't know if he's there to share.
Yeah, he's the one that's Constructive Convos too.
Okay, I've been presented to everyone. Cool. So you can you all see it? What I'm showing you now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna play it. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. Basically, what it is a guy who came to Speaker's Corner to speak. This is a video compliments of content over everything, and he's about to share his view on his political views, and just see how he's treated. I'll play it now and just.
Are you uniting in all the stuff that African children is diving to take to the side. Western education. I can submit this is for Speaker's Corner. Yes, Speaker's Corner. Yeah, disagree with me. Come up there! I said, come up to start.
What are they doing to him?
No. You're not allowed to do that. You can't do that. I can do it.
This is crazy.
Another day at Kuga's Corner, guys.
What?
Yo, big up Leon in the chat.
You said what?
Big up Leon in the chat. Contact in the very face watching.
Free speech. Freedom of speech. Nobody has the right to differ from any subject. You're right. This is why we don't progress.
That was it. And it's
No, he
interesting.
needs some protection.
Community, nobody has the freedom to be different. I'm paraphrasing him. And he says this is one of the things which is preventing us from progressing. Now, the reason I mentioned it is because he was a black man who was stopped from expressing himself because what he had to say wasn't black. So his black card was revoked and he was almost physically assaulted. That is the kind of ignorant, I don't want to swear on this channel, but that's the kind of trap that I'm talking about. Who the hell gets to decide who is black and who ain't black? I'm going to calm down for a few seconds. I'll be right back.
I think it's a good time to introduce Shaka to the show.
Yay, brother Shakara.
Scat trying to get me in trouble right now, you know. Scat, that was a different segue. I like it still. You get me? But it's beautiful. Yeah, blessings, family. One.
Blessings.
Are you back? Are you back?
Witnesses in the world. Fire witness, man.
You got a suntan from ATL, Georgia?
You know, I'm not gonna lie, yeah. Being in Atlanta, yeah, is the first time I've been in a majority white country and been in a city where I can move for days and see nothing but black people. I've never experienced
shouted.
before.
Were they black enough for you, or were they acting a little bougie?
Boy, you know what? I was in a city. So, Atlanta's black, man. Atlanta's black, like. Well, at least where I was in Atlanta, anyway. You know what I mean? Can't lie, man. But yeah, it was beautiful.
Did you see different types of black? Did you see the bougie black, ghetto black, artistic black, nerdy black?
In the manner of speaking, I was there for 2 weeks, so I never went around the whole heap. So maybe in the area that I was staying, most people were on a similar.
Did you see Nene? That's what we want to know. I mean,
I would name Nene.
Nene Leaks. What do you mean? Housewives of Atlanta. Hello.
Oh wow.
Well, what I want to know is when you opened your mouth and you spoke, did the black folk in Atlanta think that you were not black enough because they thought, oh, you sound like you white? Or did they accept you as a brother and they did not do that stupid nonsense?
I talk about the man went with his patois. You know them rate the patois anywhere you go.
It's true that. It's true that, but it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? So there are some. I find that a lot of black people in America are not like fully cognizant of the existence of black people in the UK, innit? That's what I'm saying. So sometimes they're surprised, innit? You know what I'm saying?
Even in 2019, they're surprised. Wow.
And that I remember feeling like that in the 90s. Like the first time I went to America was 1995, and we went to one of my cousin's church, and so you know the part of the service where they say, "Oh, anybody who's here for the first time," right? So I'm 10 years old. My mom gets up and says, "Oh yeah, my name is Sonia. We're Leroy's cousins, and we're over here from England." The whole church turned around. Because they couldn't believe that black people came from London. And then my brethren was saying that like he's been to London a few times, and even like being around like black people that speak in London and them kind of things there, like, but in how black people speak in London, he said that to a lot of Americans that still sounds like the Queen's English.
That's what Bullet says, and Gregory and them man there.
Yeah.
I remember.
Sorry to cut in, but it's even interesting to hear you both say the same thing. And obviously, I know like you're a little bit younger, whatever, but it remains still that America's it's a very secular country, not secular, insular.
Insular, yeah, very insular.
Very, very insular, even in 2019, seemingly.
Yeah, very, very insular.
I went to America.
And why I'm even more surprised, sorry to cut in, but
Good.
with social media and you know what I mean, all these different ways to interact with the rest of the world compared to days of old. Yeah, that's quite surprising still, man. What's that, babe?
One sec.
Okay. But yeah, man, America, man. Sis, do you think America's insulated? Because I know you've done a little bit of traveling yourself. So when you've left America, are you surprised? Have you been surprised at how America is deemed outside of America, or was it quite?
Wait, you mean? Am I surprised? What?
America is definitely a very insular country from my experience. Like when I went there, I got to see exactly the reason why. Like, it's such a big country, especially compared to little baby UK or little island, and we think London is some big city. You go to America, you see that it's such a massive nation country, and then each state in itself is like a country on its own right, and each state itself is focused on itself, really, its own internal politics, own internal situation. So you go to America, but they don't even pay attention to what's going on in DC or New York, because they only worry about what's going on in Kansas or in their little town or
Exactly. Because even their news is all very, they call it national, innit? So if you're in Florida, you're getting Florida news. If you're in Chicago, you're getting that news, and that's it. You
get local and national news. So,
that's it.
But they definitely focus. They give you your local update. If you're gonna get weather, you're gonna get weather for your local area. If you're gonna find out like what type of crimes or kind of positive, any kind of changes going on in your local area, and then they'll give you national they give you national, and they do international. But I will say that the amount of time spent going on a national level, and then the amount of time spent on the local on the international. You might have to, if you want to go deep into like international, you might have to go to one of the channels that, because if you go on like a channel like CNN is may not focus on like your local stuff. You see what I'm saying? CNN is going to give you information, nationally, and then go into international stuff. And there may be some key, like if something in Kansas happens that's going to affect the nation, then that might be a story. You see what I'm saying, that they have on CNN. So when you say it's insulated and based off of the examples that you're giving, yeah, I'm not going to disagree that if you live in Hartford, Connecticut, you're really not going to know exactly what's going on in DeKalb County in Atlanta, Georgia. You may not.
What about London?
You may not hear about what's going on in London unless it really becomes something like of international significance. Like what happened
like
when
like a woman giving birth to a baby.
You're not like if some lady in London has 6 toplets, right? We may not know about that, but when things was burning down in France, we heard about that. You see what I'm saying? But and you guys already know who controls the the information that we get. So the information is definitely going to be filtered. So unless you're going to be the kind of person to seek out like international information, they may not know. They may, it's probably most Americans are not aware of, the history of how there came to be Black people in the UK.
Or is that down to their stupidity? I mean, we are in the 21st century. There is internet technology. You can actually go on the internet and watch a documentary if you're too stupid to read.
Witness.
I mean, well then, yeah. Throw me into box too, then Witness.
No, I'm not saying you, melanated goddess.
But you're gonna have to, because there's tons of, what I'm saying is that
Witness, don't wear red again. Yeah? Don't wear red again, Witness, yeah? I tell you, brethren. Sorry, melanated. But he's just
Witness,
warming
there's
me up
tons
right
of
there,
things.
boy.
Listen,
Jeez.
Witness, there's tons of things, right, that I have not researched in the 21st century.
This you
So
making me
and
laugh, brother.
that makes you stupid. Wow. I mean, yeah.
No,
Like,
no, that's not what he meant. That's not what he meant, melanated, man.
no, but what I'm saying is that okay, there's probably people who don't know, you know, that they're black people, the origins of black people in Asia. There's plenty of people who probably don't know, what you call it, where what Buddha. I had to look that up. Mauritius. I never even heard of that place. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, until I was exposed to him, that made me do further research. So if that makes you stupid because you didn't even know that it existed, then yeah, I'm throwing myself in my boat too. Then, you know.
Let me jump in. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was just gonna jump in there because 100%. But I think that's kind of what I mean in terms of insular when it comes to America, is that because the United States is so big and so wide, and whilst you, like I said, on the news they might cover international things, because America itself is so big and so wide, and because you have something like the Hollywood industry that is so massive, and because the rest of the world is kind of facing towards the United States, and the United States is kind of facing itself, these things, whereas, like, for example, I can't remember what you just said there, but Mauritius, for example, you had no idea where Mauritius was or where it was existed. Like, you wouldn't. Why would you? Do you know what I mean? You're from the United States of America. Why would America care about little Mauritius when America has all of the Americas and all the different states in America and all the different things going on in America to care about that? And also, America's culture is very different. Here in the UK, the United Kingdom literally used to control much of the world. Like the British Empire controlled much of the world. So a lot of the world stuff is here in the UK. So we, growing up in the UK, will come into contact, and not just us in the UK, but people in Europe will come into contact with so many different cultures and so many historical situations, because we are actually part of what they call the old world, whereas America is part of what they call the new world. And so I don't know, I guess we just come across more information or different types of information than what you would come across in the United States, I suppose.
Now that's the diplomatic. That's the nice political diplomatic way of saying it, which is very commendable.
Okay, cool. And
in
regards to being diplomatic, in regards to being diplomatic, I was gonna say I was trying to throw it to Shakara in regards to the elder out there whining out on the guy in the MAGA hat, because I don't know, maybe the guy in the MAGA hat deserved it.
Why are you trying to set me up, Scattered? You know, I'm not trying to set me up on this show, you know.
Witness, was the guy on the ladder, was he cooning, Witness?
He was simply expressing his political beliefs.
Let me say this.
But was he cooning though, babe?
No. All right, put this way. Witness, have you seen the previous video that was put up? What's it called? The one that's, I think, content. He titled it something like, I used to be an Africanist, but now I'm a free market capitalist.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Scattered Minds was telling me about it, and I admit I did watch it, but I didn't watch all of it. I only watched it for
I haven't watched all of it either. I've probably watched maybe 10, 15 minutes of it. And what this guy was saying in the video, like, because to be honest, when I saw the title, I was expecting something different. I was expecting more, you know, like something sensible.
Horror, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a more, you know, in-depth analysis coming out of somebody who's gone through a political journey. And, you know, as a Pan-Africanist, obviously I disagree with him, but, you know, I was expecting a reasoning.
Yeah.
What I got was not a reasoning. What I got was somebody saying black people ain't nothing. Black people ain't, you know what I'm saying? Don't do this. When white man was taking care of this, it was good. But black people come and mess it up. Yeah, their own countries and their own families and their own rare. Yeah. So and I haven't watched this video that you just showed in it. But what I'm gonna say is I didn't get the impression of somebody who was actually expressing, you know, a serious or in-depth political point of view. Now, having said that, does a person deserve to be assaulted, or if he was assaulted? No, you know what I'm saying. I'm not going to condone that or anything like that. At the same time, when you come to Speaker's Corner wearing a MAGA hat, you know.
No, but the difference is, you, Scattered Minds, myself,
yeah,
maybe Melanated Goddess. I don't know about Ninetha 99. She might have put it on him hard. we would have tried to reason and talk to him and try to show him the error of his ways.
Witness. Nah. Witness. Nah. You can't leave me in a boat on my own like that. No. Witness, come on. Witness. What have I said tonight, Witness? That's got me in my own boat, mate.
No, you
paddling on my own.
You asked that interesting question. You told us your history back in uni. You didn't have any problems letting certain people you felt were, as you put it, cooning. You let them know what's what. So
that was nearly a moon ago, Witness. I saw the error of my ways.
All right. Okay. Sorry. It's just that sometimes old habits die hard. You know, they kind of.
Trust me, they will never die for real. But all right, then, Witness. All right, Melanated, you've got this, sis. Car. I've been exiled from the decision making. Go on, Melanated.
Wait,
all right, I'm gonna mute up, man.
It's just that people should have spoken to him. Unfortunately, a black woman and a black man felt that they were like the guardians, the black police, and they were revoking his card and they were putting it on him physically, saying you are black enough. Here's
the thing. In principle, I don't have a problem with revoking people's black card. In principle, and
you know what they do though.
Yeah. It depends on what they did, right? Because I feel like every group that is
coming to save me, You're coming to save me, brother, because step on one island, brethren. There's no food. There's no water. I'm only joking. Sorry.
What I'm saying is is that because I feel like any group here that is about themselves in it, like has standards that it wants to uphold, and being a part of the group, kind of means that you uphold the standards. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? And I feel like any group that's seeking to be a power in this world, you know what I'm saying, like has systems of reward and punishment in it, like Amos Wilson teaches in it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like blackness or Africanness is probably the only group whereby people don't want standards associated with it. So you can just do what the hell you want to do and still be part of the group. And I don't think this is an empowering thing, especially because so much of our lives and what we decide, what we think is good and right and valuable is defined by whiteness. You know what I'm saying? So in a sense, we have to be even a bit more discerning about this thing. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like whenever there's been a strong like movement kind of thing, there among black people, there's always been principles and values and whatever that people associate with the movement, and they say, all right, this means that you're one of us, this means that you're fighting for our cause, this means that you're not. You see what I'm saying? And I feel like that in and of itself is not a negative thing, but we just have to be mindful of how we are applying that, because sometimes, because of oppression, again, one of the things that we can do is define blackness by degradation and say that if you're not down with this degrading principle, then you are not black enough. You know what I'm saying? And I think that can be destructive. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it just depends, innit, on what the standard of blackness is and revoking of black cards and then kind of things there. So that I think I heard Melanated talking about, well, I like the way she not Melanated, sorry, Ninetha talking about. I like the way she phrased it, but I can't remember how she phrased it. But I'm saying that there was a time, whereby, like, if you was a brother, especially a wealthy or famous brother, and you weren't dealing with the sisters, like, you know, your thing could get revoked or at least semi-revoked. Yeah, but that was based upon a principle of we're dealing with black love around it. You see what I'm saying?
100%, 100%, man.
You know what I'm saying? So it weren't a thing about just about whether we like white women or not. It's just about, well, if we're dealing with this black love thing and you're not on it, then you're not about that life, innit? Go ahead. You know what I'm saying?
Why did you mention the white women?
You know,
But no, because I felt like that's where Nanifa was talking about earlier.
Okay, I see.
I was praying on that example. Just what I'm saying, but I'm saying that there's definitely been like a you know, a dynamic among black people at certain points that, you know, people would question your blackness if you was dealing with a white woman, especially if you was a famous black man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you get me? That used to go on. Now a lot of people deny this nowadays, isn't it? Because like some sisters are getting questioned for their association with white men. Like they act like, you know, it's only black women that get that kind of questioning. But I remember vividly, yeah, where black men used to get roasted, yeah, differently, yeah, for this white woman thing. You know what I'm saying? And the reality is like in school and that kind of thing, because of how I used to see man them go on about white girls and run down white girls and then kind of things there. Yeah, I'll tell you nicely, I used to look down on it. Yeah, I used to look down on it, right? Blatantly, because it's that I felt like the man then put these white girls on a pedestal in it, certain ways. That's what I'm saying. And to me, it was repugnant. Yeah, man I weren't feeling it, fam. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I like nicely, it would be, you know what I'm saying? At the same time, I like growing up in them kind of things that you look at the dynamics here among, you know, sisters and that kind of thing, and boys or young black men or boys who were seen as less black, not necessarily because of anything other than they didn't suit they didn't match up to a certain standard of popular culture. Let's say, you know what I'm saying? They weren't hip hop enough, yeah, or whatever, which is, you know what I'm saying? I don't think that's a particularly valuable standard of blackness, if that makes sense. Nothing wrong with hip hop, you know what I'm saying? And hip hop is a part of our culture, but there are other parts of our culture that validate our blackness, if that makes sense. So, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
You know, I was thinking to myself, like, a lot of times when people like feel like that level of rejection, right? Like, let's say a guy is interested in a girl and she's just like not feeling him. He'll interpret it like, oh, it's because I'm not black enough, or oh, you want a thug or something like that, when she just may not like him. You know what I'm saying? But I think that sometimes people can be a little too sensitive to this, like putting you in a, you know, like I'm someone was interested in me, and I just felt that we didn't really have much in common. We really, you know, there wasn't really any sort of chemistry, and but I didn't feel he was not black. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's just that our life experiences was somewhat different, and the way in which we conducted ourselves, like, you know, he likes to go to the theater and stuff like that. That's not really my thing, you know. So
what you like to do? You like to go to the Waffle House? I don't know.
But if I did like to go to the Waffle House, right, wouldn't that mean that we didn't like the same type of things? If I did, because there's more than one type of black person, right? So if I'm one type and then he's a different type, then we're just different types. It's just I didn't say he was less black. He's just a different type of black man that's not compatible with me. So sometimes that feedback or that whatever rejection or however it's interpreted is not a slight at the person's blackness. It could literally just mean that, oh, hey, we on two different pages. We on you on this and I'm on that, like, you know, that type of thing.
No, I'll agree with that, yeah. But I do think that there are certain standards like of attractiveness that apply, male and female, yeah.
I actually don't pick the Waffle House because they cook pork and everything all on the same grill.
But you know, black folks in America, they love their pig feet and they love their, you know, chitlins and they love.
Oh Lord,
stuff.
witness on what they were.
So
you know what? I was walking down Tottenham Court Road. It must have been back in the 90s, the mid 90s, and this used to happen a lot in the 90s. People would walk up to you out the blue and ask you if you like hip hop music. And if you said yes, they try and sell you CDs, usually their own stuff. So I was minding my business, came out of Tottenham Court Road tube station, walking down. Black guy comes up to me with an American accent. Black American goes, "Yo, brother, what's up? Yo, man, you like hip hop?" I looked him straight in the eye and I said, "No." The guy looked as if he was about to have a heart attack, as if I was some kind of extraterrestrial who had put on a black skin. The idea that a black man would not be listening to hip hop, I thought he was going to revoke my blackness right then and there. And I was shocked, and I just said whatever, and I walked past him, and he was shocked. He kept looking at me. And this is, we can philosophize it, theoreticize
what makes
it.
you black, babe?
What makes me black is my state of mind.
Okay,
My historical knowledge. My historical knowledge, the knowledge I have of my people, my ancestors, the knowledge that I have and the love that I feel for my family, my tribe, and then looking out through the people I've met, looking out to the diaspora of black people. That is what makes me black. It is not my accent. It is not my clothing. It is not my music. It is not my jive talking or whatever you want to call it, roadman talk. It's not any of that trash.
Choice of wife?
Sorry?
Choice of reproduction agent?
Oh. To me, I want to epitomize what my parents did. They were both black, a black man and a black woman, married, fell in love, reproduced and made black children. That's what I aim for. But at the same time, I don't feel any form of malice or hatred towards black men or black women who are in other relationships with other people. I don't feel
Fair play. Does that affect their blackness?
No, I don't believe it does. I believe that you can be a black man or a black woman married to someone who's not black and still be a credit to your race. Frederick Douglass, I think his second wife was white.
So, yeah, well, you know.
What is that?
How old was he when he married the second wife?
He was the elder.
Yeah.
He was the elder.
He was, yeah.
I heard he was in Pampers or something.
But would you say that changed his views?
Ooh, I don't know. I'd have to look at the history. I cannot think so. No, I don't know. But then I'm guessing you might know something.
In the case of Frederick Douglass, probably not, because he was always a bit of an integrationist and assimilationist.
Yeah. In fact, a white man was much more of a radical than Frederick Douglass. Do you know that John Brown tried to get Frederick Douglass to come with him? John Brown, the white man who decided he was going to make a raid on the armaments factory, get weapons to give the black slaves. He wanted Frederick Douglass to join him, but Frederick Douglass said no, and John Brown went on his own. And
so that kind of affected him, didn't it?
It did, yes. It did. He did. Yeah, he did affect him politically. I don't know if socially, but I know politically.
So, but if he was with a black woman, would he think the same way?
I think at then he was with a black woman, wasn't he? This was his first wife.
It's possible. I'm not entirely sure about that, but it's possible. It's possible. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, Douglas was always on that American thing. He was always
he was opened.
Right. Yeah, into the American thing. That was the debate between him and Martin Delaney. So that's what that is.
And I read somewhere that some black people felt that W.E.B. Du Bois was a sellout. He wasn't black enough with his views.
That's a complicated one.
I know Booker T. Washington fell out of favor with a lot of black Americans at one point historically.
Du Bois, just black boule type of thing.
Du Bois was an elitist, isn't it? Right. So he believed in black elitism at one point in his development. You know what I'm saying? And so basically he didn't have a positive relationship with the masses who were not of his class, innit? You know what I'm saying? So that's really what his thing was. You know what I'm saying? Because and this is the thing though, yeah, because on the flip side, of what Witness was saying earlier in terms of the hip hop thing. Yeah, when hip hop developed, yeah, there were many black people who disassociated themselves from it because they believed it was low class. You know what I'm saying? Just like happened with jazz and the different forms of music like rock and roll and them kind of things. There was an elitist class of black people that looked down upon those musical art forms, yeah, and oftentimes they did so as a part of a disassociation from blackness as well, and an association with what American is or was. You know what I'm saying? What was
them the conservative blacks?
Right. That conservatism there, that elitism there existed in relation to our art forms. You see what I'm saying? And so and in effect, yeah, a lot of like the same could be said for jazz at one point. There were black people that looked down upon jazz. Yeah, what's it called? You know what I'm saying? Because they had an American elitism that favored classical music. And you know what I'm saying, and that kind of vibe. You know what I'm saying? And it just so happens that jazz developed this image of respectability for a future generation, whereby hip hop became the rebellious art form. And I think oftentimes what is considered black is what is considered to be advocating for the masses.
Those were the church elites.
Say again?
The church elites.
To some degree as well, yes, the gospel would have been in that as well. But then at the same time, there was a time when gospel music was looked down upon as well. There was a time when blues was looked down upon as well. You know what I'm saying? And, you know what I mean? So there's always these evolutions in how our culture develops, isn't it? But I'm just putting a balance in there in the sense of the fact that, you know, like, because hip hop was advocating for black people directly, yeah, and then there were people that disassociated themselves from hip hop for that reason, you know what I mean? Then you got that. But at the same time, I feel like one of the tricks that has been played is that when we've evolved, oftentimes the evolution features a separation, a discord between the generations. So, you know, the next generation doesn't have a full appreciation for jazz. You see what I'm saying? And that reflects kind of the discord, the generation gap, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? But when you check jazz music, there would be no hip hop if there was no jazz. You know what I'm saying? So
yes, they're all linked. They all feed off each other.
And you experienced that in New Orleans.
Yes,
definitely. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the history of things is not. There's a disconnect between the evolution of things, isn't it? And that leads to certain. You know what I mean? Because how can somebody look at somebody as less black because they favor jazz over hip hop? If you understand what jazz is,
but then this is for you and for 90th and 99. If either one, and Scattered Minds as well, and even actually Melanated Goddess, because she's from the Caribbean as well. If you come into contact with a Caribbean man,
whoa! Why are you bringing me back like that? Hold on. What kind of life-saving things this? I'm listening. Sorry.
So, if you come into contact with someone who is from the Caribbean, of Caribbean descent, and they are not into eating ackee, saltfish, jerk chicken, rice and peas, are they a coon? Are they not black enough? Are they misguided?
Unless you're Rastafari, yes. That's what I'm gonna say, fam. Like, but by the same token, Witness, yeah. Imagine you came across somebody from Nigeria that didn't eat jollof and eba and egusi.
I'll be fine with that. I'll be like, okay, it doesn't work for him.
But would it not be weird?
No, not really. No.
It won't be weird because they eat English food.
Fam, it'll be weird to me. I'm not gonna lie, fam. Man told me that you don't eat eba, and you're born and raised in Nigeria. I'm looking at you sideways.
I mean, I ate it. Environment. Yeah, I ate it growing up.
In the British environment, whether you're Jamaican or African or whatever, there's a tendency of you not eating certain foods.
No, but it's like, man, yeah, like growing up over here, yeah, all right, man, them ate fish and chips and them kind of thing there, but it don't mean that man them never ate rice and peas. You know what I'm saying?
I know certain man that haven't.
You know, man, from the Caribbean that I've never eaten rice and peas.
No, because they weren't brought up in that environment.
What you mean? What environment they was brought up in?
So I'm thinking like, explain this to me, Maggie.
White people's environment.
Right. But if you're born and raised by white people, that's a different thing.
Yeah, but I mean, like when I say white environment, they were born in country. They've never really, their parents never really cooked that kind of food.
I don't know none of them people.
Yeah, you
probably I know that people that were raised in white environments by black parents and still ate their own food at home. Then again, I know black people that were raised by white people. They were fostered and adopted by white people, and so therefore they didn't. That's a different thing to me.
That's a different thing, but I don't know like any first generation American person, right, whose parents are from Haiti and they've never eaten Haitian food, or they weren't raised eating Haitian food, even in America.
Yeah, I'm gonna focus it.
But when you talk about this
person who don't eat curry, this and I used to make jokes about my friend, my homegirl, like, yo, so would you eat curry cereal, or would you eat curry rice, or you because they eat curry on everything. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but curry is not for one person. That's
curry cereal. I like that one, sis.
Everybody eats curry, so that doesn't dictate anything.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's certain. Even everyone knows, like even Jamaican people make roti, but people know that roti is not a Jamaican.
Yeah, but
dish.
I know people that have never had rice and peas. They've had rice, but they've never had rice and peas.
From where?
Huh?
Where they from?
They're from London.
I've never come across that, Maggie. I've never come across
think
that.
About it. Think about what you're saying.
Recipes.
Because if you're talking about the national dish, there's a lot of people that haven't had the national dish. But when you're talking about a variation of where it's everywhere,
no. But I'm saying, all right,
that they've had it.
No, all right. For example, yeah, being raised in London, yeah, like because of like you know, Jamaicans like cuisine is kind of as far as the Caribbean is concerned, yeah. Like so, like for example, I grew up eating more. My mom's side is from Antigua, yeah. My mom was raised over here, so but I grew up eating more Jamaican food than Antiguan food.
Okay, so what would you class as Jamaican food? Solely to Jamaica.
Solely to Jamaica. Well, obviously there's the national. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that when you say solely, I don't know if it's solely, but even then,
I would say more like, let's say, for instance, when you talk about callaloo, you talk about saltfish and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I get that. That can be solely to Jamaica. Yeah, but then when you're talking about the basics, then it's everybody
it's different. And oftentimes, even where Africa and the Caribbean is concerned, the difference is in preparation more than anything else. Yeah. Yeah,
so like, what I'm saying is,
but I think there's like eat things like dukuno and fungi, yeah, and them kind of things there, yeah, and so like it was grandma's house certain time when we would get them certain thing there, or when we go to America, like you know my cousin will cook up the Antiguan food and them kind of things there, and it was beautiful, you know what I'm saying? But that's partly because like over here, as far as Caribbean food is concerned, is dominated by Jamaica. That's what I'm saying. So like you know you get 1-2 Trini spots where you can get some Trini roti. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a different thing. But my point is that I don't know, like when it comes to what is considered Caribbean food in London, I don't know people from the Caribbean that were not raised eating that food. I mean, it's like you can get it on the high street. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. but as I said to you, depending on how they've been brought up through their parents, because some of their parents may not have that skill.
Me and my friends used to have debates of, is it called rice and peas or peas and rice?
Oh, peas and rice, yeah.
I could say you could have the English one, which is the green peas and rice.
Joker. And as well, yeah.
Gungo peas?
No, the green peas is a different. Garden peas is a different thing.
Exactly.
But as well, yeah. You see, as far as the Caribbean is concerned, I think Jamaica is the only island that like actively eats ackee. Just what I'm saying, like in Antigua they don't eat ackee. They feed ackee to pig, and them.
They say it's poison.
Yeah, well, part of ackee is poison, but Jamaicans found a way to work it. You know what I mean, right? But yeah, so
intelligent slaves. We say what we say. Intelligent slaves, blood clean.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that maybe one other island. I can't remember which it is, and for some reason St. Vincent is in my head. But I think St. Vincent might eat the ackee, but most of the islands don't eat ackee. Yeah. Now, and the funny thing is that the ackee come to the Caribbean from West Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that to a certain degree, you know, I think it's kind of healthy to have a certain level of like, oh, okay, you're from this place. This is something that you may eat. You may
yeah.
I don't think that it's you. I mean, you might find an Italian who can't stand to eat lasagna. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You might find an Italian who doesn't like lasagna, but I don't even know if you can find an Italian who's never eaten lasagna.
Yeah.
That's different.
That's
they
different.
They may not like it because they ate it all their damn life and they just don't like it anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could go to certain households where they're just eating chicken and chips and McDonald's because you
got some different regions.
Raised up.
You got some different regions.
Huh?
You got some different.
I think we have to admit that some of this maybe second and third generation are not maintaining the culinary.
That's what I'm trying to say.
So yeah, I probably agree with that. But to say that they've never eaten the thing, though, man.
There is some people that haven't. They're into their pies and their chips.
On the exception to the rule, Brother Terry, you went from witness stolen.
There's a woman that I know. She has mixed race children. She's black. She does not know how to cook any form of Caribbean or African food. She cooks her children pie and mash.
Okay, so I'm gonna go like Brother Witness. And in 2019, she's so stupid she can't use a YouTube some damn cultural recipes.
That's the thing.
Nah, but you know what? I think we do have to acknowledge. We do have to acknowledge that there's some real whatless people out there, man.
There is.
Real
That's
for
what
real.
I'm trying to say. They don't.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Cooking. They're the ones that always burn things in the kitchen, so they'll find the quickest way to give their children food.
You know why I know son of lime? Listen, I've been past Brixton, Kentucky, and nearly cried. Trust me. To who I see in the queue now, it could be argued that some people are just there doing their shopping and just going in, you know what I mean, for a quick bite. But nah, man, enough people now cook them yard, man.
So what are they showing their children? The same bullshit.
Well, so are they showing their children how to be black? What are they showing their children? Because I'm just trying to.
They're showing their children how to be British.
Because you can become black British.
Okay, black British.
Just like you can become black American.
Yeah, that's definitely happening, man. Definitely.
The culture's getting lost.
They're adopting the new culture.
Well, the reason why I find this topic so interesting, and I can't even lie, is that I've got a one gift, yeah, and the two people that made this gift are black, yeah. But I'm telling you, what is it? Nurture nature, but the environment can definitely play a part. That's all I'm saying, man. So, going, we might have to witness. This is where you come into play.
Yeah, because the environment can end up promoting some ignorance and making people think. If they live in an echo chamber, if they don't go out to see other black people in other parts of the not diaspora, but region, they're going to end up thinking that every single black person or what is black is supposed to be in their neighborhood. talk like them, dress like them, walk like them. They suddenly come across a black person from, I don't know, Blackpool, and they think, oh, this guy's a sellout. He's a coon. I remember watching a rugby game where Wales were playing England, and there was a black guy who played for Wales called Nigel Walker, and my cousin was sitting next to me, and his friend was there as well, and his friend said, that guy's a coon, because he had a Welsh accent. And I had to correct him. I said, don't be stupid. You think every single black person lives in Streatham Hill. You've got black people all over the world. You can't be, it just irritates me, the ignorance
But Witness, you do have sports guys that are coons.
How are they coons? You have
because of their ways, of them marrying a white woman, them cooking mash and potato mash and giving their children beans and not even giving their children no sight of culture. Because they refuse to talk about them being Nigerian or being Jamaican.
Okay, so that's the definition. Well, okay, you're actually stipulating the definition of what a coon is. You're going down.
It's a multiple of things.
Yeah, you've mentioned
when you're avoiding your culture, then there is a problem with it.
Okay, if you're deliberately choosing to avoid your culture.
And most celebrities do that.
Like who?
Quite a few of them.
Who?
To fit in.
Just to fit in.
Was Prince being a coon? Was Prince being a coon before he passed away?
Which Prince?
Prince. Kiss.
Oh, Prince.
Yeah.
What is his culture?
He's a black American.
He's a black American. So he never acted like a black American.
I don't know. He had white partners, and according to you, you said
no. I said the culture. He still embraced the culture through his music.
Donald Glover, is he a coon?
Who?
Donald Glover, Childish Gambino. This is America.
Yeah, and give me his culture.
He's at coon moment still.
He's
got some coon proclivities.
Yeah.
He's got what? Coon.
When you disown your own people, there is an issue.
How do you disown? That's serious. That's a serious charge. How do you disown your own people? Give me an example.
Yeah, a lot of them will say, "Oh, I'm not Nigerian. I'm not Jamaican. I'm British."
Oh, so if you call yourself British, you're
No, I'm saying the culture. That everything aspects in your culture you disown, you neglect, or you push away, it becomes coonery.
I don't know, man. I just feel like it's good to have some standards in it. That's
yeah, exactly. So that means, I don't like black women. So that means you don't like your own mother.
Right, like if you so let me ask you this, Brother Witness.
Whoa! Before we go, I don't like the fact that you came in when Terry said if you don't like black women, because I never said I was part of that, so I don't know why you're coming.
I don't like being in the island, though.
No, I know you like black women, Brother Witness. You good on that front with me. I just wanna know a question, right? So, if a black person says about, oh my goodness, her lips are too big, his nose is too wide. Oh my goodness, she need to do something to her hair. It's too hard, right? What are your thoughts about those type of comments?
I think that person the people making those comments are misguided. They've experienced a lot of pain in their life from the supremacist system, which has made them implement self-hatred. They need to be guided. They need to be corrected. They need to be helped before they do any more damage to their community.
So you wouldn't call that person a coon?
I don't like using words that have been created by the supremacists.
Like that word
because it's been used. It was created and used by the supremacists. I don't like using the supremacists word on other black people.
I don't use that term coon, right? I don't. You can't show me no video where you like melanated in the comments or anything, and I'm calling somebody a coon. However, I know what it means, and I know why people use it, right? So I'm asking you, let's say I call them a coon. The person who says his lips are too big, and I said, man, shut up with your cooning ass, right? Would you think that I was wrong? Would you think that was wrong? Or would you say, well, you don't like that word, but can't front. He kind of, you know.
If I was in America and you said that, I would just say, well, this is America. This is how they deal with that stuff. They use those words.
But they say it in the UK.
Yeah, they're trying to copy the Americans. They're not good at it, but they're trying.
Oh my god! Oh my gosh! You just put yourself in a hole there, mate.
So let me ask you this, see, because I don't like that right there, Witness. And I told you already, you be sneak dissing America sometimes.
No, I said that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Something bad, they copying America. But when it's black excellence, you don't say, "Oh, look at them copying America's black excellence."
Yes, I do. I do. No. I keep on going on about Black Wall Street, what the Black Americans did back then, owning farm, owning land, owning their own businesses because of the rabid racism which existed.
I'm talking about when people do stuff in the UK. So someone in the UK becomes runs for office and they become a black political figure, or you know, black women in the UK graduating college. You say, "Oh, look at them copying America." You don't say that.
No, I don't. Yeah.
So you're trying to say that there's no that the British don't have their own slang.
Own your own ratchet shit, okay? Own your own ratchet shit there, okay? When y'all ratchet over there, you just ratchet UK people. You're not copying America, damn it.
So when you talk about coconut and and Milky Way and all them kind of stuff, it's not British, yeah?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know. When you call someone a black person a bounty, I don't know. Is that British?
Yeah, a bounty. Where does that come from?
I don't know. That's from the Caribbean, isn't it? They have coconuts there, and that's what they use in the adverts.
What, the chocolate lady?
Yeah, the chocolate. I don't know.
You put yourself in a jail sentence.
No. Yeah, that's right. So all you people there who think you're the black police coming for me, back off. Yeah, I know you. All listening, they're gonna say, "Yeah, let's revoke his black card." Get out of here.
It's been revoked
but
a long time ago.
Nah, it ain't never been revoked. I keep my card. No one takes it from me. But I do understand what Melanated Goddess was saying, and I can understand when people use those words on black people who are behaving in a certain way.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand it. I mean, I can't deny it. There's self-hatred there, and yes, I can understand when people use those words. That word has now been redefined for a particular type of person. Originally, it was created by the supremacists to use as a racial slur, but then Black Americans took the word and redefined it to mean something else, which I can't deny. I understand when it's being used.
Yeah, but that's what black people do in general. We
change
words.
Yeah, we change words. Even in the UK, the word is now being used to refer to, which is fine. It's I don't have a problem with that. I'm not really arguing against that. It's just that
it's just the characteristics. But I understand that you don't like the word, but it's the characteristics. When you start to push your culture aside and start to venture out into that the other person's culture and start celebrating the other person's culture, you're selling your culture out.
Yeah, you are. Yes, you are. You are selling your culture out. I mean, to be honest, I haven't come across too many black people who do that, but I'm not going to deny it doesn't happen. It probably does, but I haven't really come across that many. But if it's a deliberate attempt to sell out your culture, yes.
Look at some people. Look at some people. They sell. They will deny. Back in the days, they used to deny that they were even African.
True. So wait a minute. Are the Jamaicans adopting the Jamaican culture or the African culture? Because if they're adopting the Jamaican culture, it's not African, so they're denying their African heritage.
But then what would you say, what will make you think that the Jamaican culture ain't African?
Well, what I would say is, I don't know, their music, the way they speak.
Because, you know, the funniest thing is, when I was in New Orleans, right, we had people from America, we had a couple of people from Haitian.
You need to go to Jamaica, Witness. Quick. But make sure you get a return ticket because you might not come back, Witness.
Anyway, what I was saying is when I was in New Orleans, we had a party in a house and we had true people that came from Africa, from Benin. We had people from New Orleans that were in the music, yeah? And we had people from the Caribbean, from Haiti, Haiti and all that kind of stuff. We had different people. But you know what brought us all together in that house? We all had the same kind of beat line of music. And they all played together.
I ain't gonna diss the people of the Caribbean or
no, but what I'm saying is that we are one. If we're one people, we all come from the same source.
Yeah, we do. We all come from
So we have similarities. It's just the way we deliver it. We deliver it in a different way. That's all.
Yeah, the Jamaicans deliver it in a very spicy, interesting way. Yeah.
Witness. Have you been to any part of the West Indies, Witness?
No, I've not had the pleasure. I've not yet had the pleasure.
I think you should take that ISA money. You know that interest you're getting on your ISA, yeah?
Yes.
The 5 ISAs that you've got, yeah?
And go to Jamaica.
Well, I'm not saying Jamaica, Witness, because to be honest,
is hedonism in Jamaica?
I don't think you're ready for Jamaica yet. Yeah, get me?
Yeah.
I think you've got a couple of preconceived ideas. So maybe go to one of the lesser Antilles.
He'll be all right in Barbados.
Boy!
Or I'll go to Montserrat. I don't know. Check out Montserrat.
Terry sent you to Barbados. I ain't saying nothing. And that's
what's wrong with Barbados?
Man, boy.
Rihanna's from Barbados. What's wrong with them?
Yeah, Barbados would probably be your speed still.
My great grandfather's from Barbados on my mother's side. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He came to Nigeria. He was working for British. Came to Africa. Was traveling around. Met my great grandmother on my mother's side, who's from Sierra Leone. Okay. They got married and then they moved to Nigeria.
Now, Witness, we may be related down the line somewhere. You see?
Yeah,
I'm half Guyanese. You see?
All right.
Yeah, and that's Guyanese. You get me? That's where we're coming from. So
you see,
watch your mouth, Witness. Watch your mouth. You might see me at a family gathering.
Have identity.
No, I've always known. Even when I was a kid growing up in Lagos, my grandmother always had a strange accent. I thought, why doesn't my grandmother sound like the other Yoruba women? And then I found out it's because my great grandfather was from Barbados, and so she lived in Barbados for a while before she was brought to Nigeria.
What did a Bayesian talking Bayesian in Nigeria? That must have been some funny shit.
Yeah.
Hey.
Eventually, she lost her most of her accent, but every now and again, it would always come out, and I would always think, why does my grandmother speak differently to them?
But you know, in all honesty, you get a lot of Caribbean teachers in Nigeria.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, one of my teachers in my school in Nigeria was Caribbean. She was from Jamaica.
But you know about the Jamaican slaves, though, innit, Witness? You know who was deposited in Jamaica?
It could be ranging from the Yorubas to the Igbos.
What do you mean, oh? What do you mean, oh?
I don't know, because sometimes I'm always curious how people know for sure about the tribes that ended up in the Caribbean islands. How do you know for sure?
We don't know about tribes, but all we know is that...
For sure, you would know by following the ships. The ships have got lists. And they
but the ships don't exist anymore.
Where? Huh?
The ships don't exist anymore.
Yes, because they pull them apart to build houses. But majority of the list, if you go into the archives, have lists of where they shipped people from one place to another.
Okay. Oh yeah, you were telling me about that place that has the archives. I've forgotten the name.
Yeah, all you have to go to Docklands. Docklands has the list.
Okay. Cool. Fair enough. Well, I ain't got no problem with my Caribbean brothers and sisters. It take me a while to eat certain cuisine because of my diet, but you know.
Alternately, Witness.
You're British.
British. I am a Nigerian. I'm Yoruba. Yoruba Nimi.
Yeah, Yoruba British.
You on the other hand, are more London, yeah.
You're trying to say I'm from London.
Yeah, or
I'm
more
worldwide,
London.
baby.
Worldwide, baby. Worldwide. Yeah, I hear about you, your amazing adventures with the Queen of Congo. You need to get that video out so we can watch it. See those amazing adventures traveling the world.
Just go on my Instagram.
Terry.
Yeah.
How old is the Queen, the Congo Queen that you're moving
60 something.
Okay.
Sorry, how old?
60 something.
And she's traveling. Wow. Okay.
She just finished doing a conference in New York just a couple of days ago. She's coming out. I'm bringing her over for just one day in August the 11th. We're doing a sankofa, meaning that we're doing a bit of history in the morning, afternoon, and then having a conference meeting in the evening.
Hang on a minute. Is Scattered Minds still there? Scattered Minds? Or is he going to have to watch Game of Thrones again? I think he's gone.
But she's moving fast.
Okay.
So, is everyone on the panel black enough? That's what I want to know.
Well, I just don't know. You have the people, the self-appointed black police out there who like to. I don't know, man. I say, burn the black police.
I'm too black, man. No boy can take away my
You have to keep people
no
in check.
day. No day at all. Too black. Too proud. Check this out. Come on.
So what about the people who aren't black and proud? Are they black enough?
If they ain't black and proud, I don't. Who was that? Was that me too? Who's that?
Wait. I just want everyone to everything. Nothing ain't changed since the plantation.
B2, mute.
No, we're here still. But what's it called? Thing with the whole black enough thing. Yeah, I feel like it's not like I was listening when you were saying about it being a consciousness and a state of mind. I feel like it's more like even more innate than that. I feel like it's not something you accept. It just is what it is. Like a dog, if he doesn't want to be a dog tomorrow, it's still a dog nonetheless. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like blackness, as far as like categorizing an identity, you can't make a decision to not be black tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of.
But what is black then?
So then you're saying it's just your skin then? It's just the skin that you're in then?
No, it's not only, well, a huge part of it visually is the skin, obviously. But obviously when you look at it a lot closer, you got people who are dark skinned and not quite fit in the same group. Do you get me? Ultimately, it's just a way of grouping a group of people in it. We know who we're talking about when we're talking about black. We're talking about African people from the diaspora, and you know. So yeah, I mean, as a black man, there's no decisions I can make that will stop me from being black. Do you get me? And that whole revoking black card, it's just not possible. Who has the authority to revoke someone's black card?
Yeah,
as if it was that easy. It's like to say, like, what can a white man do something to stop being white? Or before a baby had conscious knowledge or came to consciousness like that, what color were they then? Do you get what I'm saying? So it's just.
You have to be a bit careful with your comparisons, though, man, because you know what I mean. I think you've got to be careful with the comparisons. That's
what you mean? What you mean? What you mean?
Say that again, babe.
Yeah, go to sis.
I'm saying elaborate on what when you say he got to be careful with the comparison. Are you saying those two things can't compare?
Wait, hang on. Before anybody says anything else, I've got a message in the chat. There's M.A. Brown. He's asking 90th and 99 if he can jump on. Has someone got the link? Because I know last time he came on.
Can someone direct it to him? Direct message it to him.
I don't.
Yeah, we'll work on getting you a link.
Tell him to send a message to one of us, and then we could accept the invite on Hangout, right?
Yeah.
That's how we do it.
Positive. Yeah. Well, go through, sis. 94. What was you saying? I need to be careful about some of the comparisons. Go through.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah. What I mean is that for myself personally, I think we have to be sorry, hold on a sec. We have to be careful when we make comparisons and with whom we make comparisons, because I think to compare ourselves maybe to the average white person or to the average Asian person or Chinese, etc., is a little bit dangerous because we are not in their position. You understand? Because I always say, yeah, if we was in a utopic world whereby all things were equal, you understand me? And as a nation, we're supposed to be, and we're doing well. Then my views may be different. But for myself, in order to get to where we need to get to, you understand me? There has to be a time of Mr. Bad Guy, then, if you want to call it that way.
I hear that. I'm not. I think the point I was trying to make isn't even really about who's bad or who's whatever. Really, it was just about any race, no matter what. You don't generally have the choice of choosing what race you're from. Do you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. It's not something you can elect in and out of or subscribe. Today I'm this, or unless you're something of a mixture.
But it's definitely your choice. Sorry to cut you, brother, but it's definitely your choice as to how you carry yourself within that tribe. You understand me? And I think that's where the difference comes. And my thing is that in most other tribes, whether they want to or not, many of these other youths want to block out of their tribe.
Can a white person carry themselves black? This was a question that someone else in the room asked me, and I think it's a good question still. Can a white person carry themselves black?
No.
They can definitely try.
No, they can talk a certain way.
Because that's something they have to, that's a birthright they have to be born into, isn't it?
But the thing is, if they wake up tomorrow, change the way they talk, change the way they dress, it's a wrap. It's done. So no.
All right, but
the point being that they can always assimilate back into their natural environment, if you want to call it that. You understand me?
And the natural thing being white, yeah.
But that is all of our natural environment in Britain. So yeah.
Well, I think part of the difference is that whiteness has become like a conglomerate of all, like, you know, like they adapt other people's cultures and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And kind of bring it in. Like, you know, my family would consider eating things like pizza white people food, but it's really like Italian food and not necessarily like, you know, people in England food. You see what I'm saying? Like it's different, but you know, it has become American food. Pizza is as damn American as a hot dog, which a hot dog is damn German. You see what I'm saying? It's like it's just they just everything becomes like theirs, but they don't have jerk chicken. You know what I'm saying? They don't have fufu. You see what I'm saying? So when you have a white person who now is adapting that is categorically something that is from people who are of African descent, that's a difference. That's them trying to be black. Not to say that they can't eat jerk chicken. I'm not saying that they can't eat it. You know, but when they adopt it as if it's theirs, you know, and they, yeah, man, you know, like everything is not what you would. I don't know. This is getting confusing. And I don't want to talk about white people not being white. I just want to talk about black people not being black.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Keep the conversation more focused on us and how we tend to police each other and how we tend to draw these lines of separation because people aren't meeting whatever these invisible standards are.
Yes, invisible standards,
You know,
which have
like,
been created by who knows who knows, and they are judge people, men, women, on these invisible standards. I think that's a great deal of ignorance, and I guess those people need to be. Put it this way: we already have enough problems as it is. We're dealing with a supremacist system, and dictating to other black people how they should behave, telling them whether they're being black or not black enough is counterproductive, you know. And I'm not talking about people who have a hatred of their culture and deliberately choose to attack their culture. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who might do, I don't know, somebody says they like classical music or they're learning to play the violin or the cello, and then you tell them that because they're not being a scratch DJ, they're somehow being sellouts, you know, stuff like that. Or like I mentioned, it's, you know, people who talk in a certain way, dress in a certain way, and then you think it's not black enough, and so you attack them for that. Or their politics is not the same as yours. That's a very important thing. They might choose to vote, I don't know, you might come across a black person who might choose to vote conservative or liberal Democrat. And then you say, well, that's not black enough. And you start saying, insulting them because of that. I think that's just, it's just ignorance. And I don't think anyone has the right to make themselves the self-appointed black police, dictating to black people whether they are or are not black enough. And that was what I tried to show in that video from Content Over Everything, when they didn't like that guy's view and they thought, yeah, we'll tell him we're the black police, you're not black enough, so let's do this to you. I don't agree with that. And we need to stop that. There are too many of us who are doing that. And if you choose not to stop it, well, then you're a stupid MF.
Well, I'm not the most, you know, I'm not like the most knowledgeable when it comes to politics, but I think that, you know, I would never tell someone that they're not black enough if they cited a particular way. I think I would be, at least initially, I would be more curious.
Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. We got a member of the black police in the chat. Red Cap dude softening y'all up for some coonery from Everything is Everything.
Who?
Some douchebag called Everything is Everything says Red Cap dude softening y'all up for some coonery. He's a member of the black police. He's exactly what I'm talking about. So you see, I'm not just making it all up. They do exist. We got some of them in the chat.
Everything is everything. Behave yourself, man. Behave on yourself, huh? Listen, you in a constructive convo home. We have good manners. Display some good manners. Listen, what I was gonna say is that I would be more curious as to why someone just has the belief that they have, and maybe have a conversation with them. I do think, and now personally, I think I would have, because brother Shaka Ra brought it up. If I saw a black person and they would kept talking about make America great again, I would really question, like, you know, am I being punked? Is this like what's going on with this person? Like, I would really question their, I don't want to say their blackness. I would just question their grasp on reality. Not even about if you're black or not. Like, you know, like I guess you just don't care, or you just in denial. You know, maybe that's your coping
You think
strategy.
they'd want to talk to you though? Would they be willing to talk to you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm pretty approachable, I've been told.
What about you, Shakara? Have you had the pleasure of coming into contact with these self-appointed black police?
So, yes and no. I am kind of like a hardcore Pan-Africanist. So there's very few people on the planet that are gonna try and tell me that I'm not black enough in it. Yeah, I don't come across that from people. Like, it's not. It wouldn't make sense for somebody to try and tell me that because of the kind of way the way I profile. So, yeah.
Do you waste time talking to them though, or you just treat them like trash and just
I don't have to deal with them really. I feel like see, because I don't know, it's funny, like in the sense of the not black enough stuff here. It depends on the perspective that it's coming from, because some people say that, you know, people I've heard things, for example, from educationalists that say that people are told that they're not black enough if they speak with a certain accent or they read certain kind of particular books. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And these kinds of things, or they articulate a certain kind of way. So on a personal level, I articulate a certain kind of way. But I also listen to hip hop and MC, and I read certain books, but I also go to bashment raves, and you know what I'm saying. So like, yeah, what I'm saying is difficult to bring that to me, innit? So I don't think I've ever really experienced that on that level. You know what I mean?
Yes, I don't watch Empire or Power, and I'm still black. Yep.
Yeah, and that's the point. See, like I have watched both. You know what I'm saying? But you know, yeah, I'd read a book on, you know, some science or some African literature or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah.
I've been told I'm too black, witness, if that helps.
Sorry?
I've been told I'm too black.
Why?
Whatever that means.
What was it that you said that prompted the person?
I can't even remember, but I've definitely been told I'm too black. I'm about to look at.
I've been told that. Yeah, I've been told that before.
You know, right.
Have you ever been called militant? I've been called militant.
I've been called that. Yeah, I've been called that.
100%.
Yeah, so what's going on? This is reverse discrimination.
And are you still into that black stuff, that kind of vibe? You know what I'm saying? That vibe, yeah.
Or they call me Black Power, Sister Soldier, Black Panther. Yeah, I get all of that.
Proudly, man. But I just feel sorry for some of them, to be honest. Because how you can allow some of them words to come out of your mouth as a black person is just nonsensical to me, boy. Sorry, family, I'm in the kitchen. Let me just mute up. Hey!
Yeah, but girl, you gotta talk about the black stuff again? I don't know. So I think it goes both ways. I think that you know, black people shouldn't tell someone they're not black enough because of the way that they speak. You know, we should. I just think that's a level of ignorance. Like, we should have enough common sense to understand that the way a person speaks is the direct representation of their environment. Like, that's just basic. Like, why do you even need to say that?
The main thing is to understand what is making that person judge another black person and say that. What are the things which define, according to them, a black person? And it seems that it has not been cast down in stone. So people are just improvising and making up their own things as they go along, basically. But we do understand that anyone who attacks their culture who attacks their black culture, whether it's from the Caribbean or African, they are, as some people would say, COONING, which is fine. Nobody disputes that. But people just going about their business being dictated to by others.
See what, sorry? I got lost at the third letter. See what?
COONING.
Okay, thank you.
If they deliberately attack their ancestry, their culture, whether it is African, Caribbean, Fijian, Solomon Islands, anything in the black diaspora, then they are COONING. But simply thinking that you can dictate to people whether they're black or not black enough, that is stupidity, that is ignorance, and should not be tolerated. That's where I stand.
But is it now? See, that's quite interesting what you're saying, you know, because it could be argued that somewhere, somehow, someone's tried to accuse me of doing the same thing. So what I want to ask you now is it that people are doing that, or is it how the other person is internalizing it?
No, I think it's, the other people, they have an inferiority complex, and then they try and use some kind of mind game to oppress or suppress the other person.
Yeah, but hold on a minute. If let's sort of pretend to use an example or whatever. So say I'm that person that's looking at you like, yo, you get me, whatever, for whatever reason, whatever. If you know that that's not the case, you're supposed to just give me your argument and keep it moving, no?
You can do one of the two. You can either give your argument or you can keep it moving. Someone once said that if you cannot be amongst black people and constructively get along, then keep away from those black people and find the ones you can constructively.
Yeah, but within any group of people. And that's what I'm saying, because, and this is where I think that we falter, man, because I know different sets of communities, and they are very pro themselves. This, you get me, without apology. And this is what I don't understand. What's
and by the same token, Nanya, like there's certain things that if you do it, you're not about that. Like you're not a part of them no more. Innit? Like it's you get ousted from the thing, innit? Like they will tell you you're moving contrary to the thing. Right now, you get me.
I mean, straightforward as that. If there's no, do you know what I mean? No, if you understand, no hoo-ha about it. We just know what it is. So I don't understand when we now try to remain on a similar kind of code. It's a massive issue. When we see that everyone else is remaining on a particular type of code and actually gaining momentum and going somewhere, and we only have to look at the most recent immigrants to Britain. You understand me? They're very close. You hear them online. So I don't know, man. This kumbaya thing, I don't know. It's not. We're gonna kumbaya, all right?
We were very specific. It depends. The thing was, if someone was deliberately attacking their own culture, then you know they were doing something bad. But if you're just, I don't know, you're into classical music, or you decide to vote for the Green Party, and someone tells you, well, that's not black enough. That's what we're talking about. That is unacceptable. But
no,
somebody
I hear that. I hear that. And
someone going up code and attacking their own culture. Well, yeah, that goes without saying. You need to put them straight.
But Witness, to be honest, yeah, I don't think you got much to worry about, yeah.
Oh, I'm not worried.
No, I don't even mean it like that. I mean in terms of, I think as the generations are going along, you know what I mean? Yeah?
No, you're making a good point. Still, go on.
But you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying to you, though, Shaka Car?
Yeah.
Like I said in it, I don't even want to talk the thing, but when I look at my youth, sometimes I'm like, wow. me and the pooper set a certain way. You understand? And it not comes so.
Yeah.
Not negatively, you with me, but
yeah.
comes so. Yeah, like trust me, don't think I can drive off without having my seatbelt on. Now I'm using that as a small example, yeah, but I'm just trying to show you the difference in the paradigm card. So Witness, I'm saying as we're going along, the children themselves are changing because they're coming up in a completely different environment, man. And what I'm gonna say to you is this, Witness. There are times gonna come when you wish you wasn't talking as strong as what you're talking today. Trust me.
Give me an example, please.
Yeah, because a time's gonna come we're going too far. And that time's gonna come. It is, man, because as much as we're saying whatever we're saying, we still have to maintain an equilibrium. That's very important. And our problem is that we're not good at equality. We're either one way or the other. And the proof of the pudding witness is going to be when you have children, or when your children's children, and then you're gonna see what I want.
Yeah, but they'll be growing up in Nigeria, in Lagos. They'll be hopefully growing up in Nigeria, in Lagos.
See? So you now that's why I know you're a joker, you know, witness. All of them freaking big chattings, you know. You've already got your exit strategy. When things get too sticky, you're taking them up and planting them back in Africa. Not even, you know them ones.
Yes,
you know,
that's where I grew up. So that's where I grew up. So that's my home. That's where I have fondest memories. So I'll take him back there.
Yeah, you see, now I hear you, witness, but you shouldn't have said that, because that kind of negates all of your argument, man.
No, I'm talking, but I agreed with everybody here from a cultural perspective. If they are saying something against their culture, deliberately, not accidentally, deliberately choosing to attack their culture, okay, then you guide them and you tell them, listen, you're messing up.
So he's saying, witness, yours is going boarding school and all that good stuff, yeah?
Well, they've got boarding schools in Nigeria, in Lagos, so
I know. Listen, witness, I know. Don't you worry. I've heard the stories, witness.
Plus, anyway, that's a good point. Plus, I went to a state school as well. So what does that mean? I went to a state school and a boarding school. I went to a state school at Streatham Hill, Dunraven School. That's a state school.
Oh, you went Dunraven, witness?
Yeah, went to Dunraven School, yeah. And
I did the test for Dunraven, but I didn't pass it still. That's not even something to be proud of, but still.
Wait, what's that? I don't know.
I ended up going Kingsdale. I went Kingsdale still.
That's funny.
Big Shepherd School in Tulsa, they got shut down.
Yeah. So you, witness.
I big up M.A. Brown as well, man. Big up school.
We got M.A. Brown in the house.
Where did you go uni, witness? In London?
Yes, I did. Unlike the rest of my family, I stayed in London. My uni doesn't exist anymore. It's called London Guildhall University. London Guildhall amalgamated with North London University, and they've now created London.
What did you study with this?
What did I study? When I went there, I studied social policy and management.
Okay.
And then I couldn't get a job after that, so I then retrained as a Microsoft systems engineer to work in IT.
Guildhall back in the day was like one of the top ones for music. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. I was gonna ask if you play an instrument, bub.
Yeah.
I do. I play guitars. Yeah.
Guitars.
Yep, guitars. I got my electric here.
Oh, my son will be impressed.
Yeah, but I don't know. I play rock music. I play heavy metal. I play the blues. Play jazz. So
I'm gonna have to introduce you to my brother, witness. Don't worry, man.
Okay. Oh,
when I was listening to Janet Kay, my brother was listening to the Status Quo. Don't worry, I've been there, man.
Status Quo. Very nice.
Trust me.
Is M.A. Brown still in the house? Do you want to share us your views on this?
Oh wait, it's after 12, you know. Like, did you lock off the what's it called? The time constraint thing.
I don't know. That's a very good question.
we did.
All right.
Okay.
We just flowing natural, like how we kind of doing in the back chat, in the back offline. We just flowing until.
There's brother M. Yeah. Anyway, bless up yourself, family. Bless up yourself, witness.
Bless up, M.A.
Yeah, bless.
Oh no, wait. Sorry, M.A. Everything says. Why am I not surprised? He play rock. Well, let me educate you on a bit of knowledge. Rock music was actually created by Black Americans.
Yes, indeed.
Through the blues. So you need to take your head out of your backside and read up on Black American history before you start leaving stupid messages like that. You clearly just exposed your ignorance. Black Americans created
man in red.
Yeah.
You tell the man in red.
Yeah.
Tell him.
Freaking tell them, witness. You're top ball.
There's a clip of Ray Charles talking about that, cussing Elvis and reclaiming the heritage.
I saw it. It's a good clip still. Yeah. I saw it.
Yeah, man. What's everyone saying?
No, we want to know, are you black enough, brother M.A. Brown? You black enough? I mean, I don't know. You know, you sound like you talk a little.
Sorry, before M.A. Brown answers that question, just to say, there's actually a song, like one of them soul funk songs from the 70s called "Am I Black Enough for Ya?"
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm gonna try and find it now and post it in the chat. But it obviously when you listen to the lyrics here, it's obviously like in a time where people were actually defining and affirming this thing called black. You know what I'm saying? And seeking to, to mold themselves in its image, so to speak. It's an interesting tune. But yeah, I'll post it in the chat. But yeah, go ahead, Evan, go ahead.
I don't know, man. Like I think it depends what type. I think blackness has been split into many different kind of interpretations, isn't it? Like, yeah, your skin is black or you're politically black. I remember there's a guy from what's the organization called? The Malcolm X something.
Grassroots.
You what?
Grassroots movement.
I don't know if that's what it was called, but it was founded by Sukant Chandan, Indian.
Oh right, yeah, that's a different thing. Yeah. But yeah.
And I remember debating with him about, he was talking about political blackness, and I said, what did I say to him? I said, you don't have to be politically. I said something along the lines of, once you've achieved your goal, are you still going to be politically black or blacking him? Some rubbish I said to him anyway, but I was kind of trying to dissolve this idea that he could be politically black, and that political blackness is something that can be abstracted away from black people and taken on board by other people. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways a lot of different ways that blackness has been kind of fragmented and then kind of distributed amongst various peoples around the world, isn't it? Me, yeah, but the thing is, I volunteer that label. You know, I take that on board voluntarily, and it's consciously as well. Because actually, growing up, kind of my dad tried to force that label onto me, in terms of, that you're black, and obviously, man went to primary school and that, and all I could see was that people of different races and whatever, and I couldn't understand it. I'll be honest with you, I couldn't understand it. I was going to like AAPRP meetings when I was like 7, 8 years old. But I still couldn't understand what I was hearing there when I went to school, because everyone was cool at school, you get me? Like, we were playing football and kiss chase and all them things there, man. It's all right still. But yeah, it's only really as I got a bit older, maybe into my late teens, early 20s, that I started to really dissect the thing. And I'm thankful for that kind of mechanism, because it means that I don't, if I hear something, I have to really, it has to in some way marry with my reality, innit? Whatever I hear. So if I can do that with my dad's words, I can do that with anybody's words. But now, yeah, man, I volunteer that labels me, innit? And I'm happy with that. But yeah, as far as, I think what we're talking about is a real fickle kind of perspective of certain people. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about, man. Like, to be saying that someone's not black or whatever, it's ridiculous. It's like the argument that when you're at school and it's like certain man will be like, right, man only listens to hip hop, or man only listens to this. And the funny thing is, their heroes are listening to everything.
Everything, yeah, true that.
Mm-hmm.
I just posted that tune in the chat, yeah. That I'm a Black Enough for Ya.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I just saw the link. I'm watching up.
Yeah, it's by Billy Paul. Y'all know who Billy Paul is?
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah, yes, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
if we don't know, are you gonna take away our black card? I'm trying to, you know.
Maybe half. You know what I mean?
I'm scared. I'm scared to answer. You know.
Temporarily, you know. You get me? Or you might get a mark, like some points on your license.
Come on, everybody knows Billy Paul. Me and Mrs. Jones.
Me and Mrs. Jones.
Hey, Whitney.
Oh, okay, yeah. We got a thing.
Yeah, thing going on.
Hey, Witness, you still got the R&B picture, yeah?
The R&B what?
The R&B picture.
Picture. Oh yeah. I forgot to mention I'm releasing my singles coming out next week. The first single is called Mr. Sexy Lover, and the second single is called Am I Bad Enough For You? So
yeah, you get some black points for that one day with this. So
thanks very much.
Now, I think this, you know what? With this argument, with this conversation, yeah, I think you can either have it one or two ways. You can either have it seriously and actually dissect the meaning of the term, the history of the word, all them kind of things, and do it properly, or you can do it in a way that people are just gonna sling mud and misconstrue, you know, the essence of black. You know what I mean? You're either gonna. I wouldn't argue with someone if they're gonna come turn around and say, "Oh, you're not black because you listen to rock music or you play rock music." That's dumb, isn't it? Like, so you can either have the conversation properly, but if the people then come with some kind of nonsense like that, you know it's not going to be a serious conversation, and they need to do some learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, it's too much division. It's just divisive speech, divisive thinking, you know, one track mind, you know what I'm saying? Like black people would be so boring if we were all the same.
I do think that like what I said in the chat was about anti-blackness. I think you can be black regardless of what you can be black but anti-black in it, but you're still black. So you can do anti-black things. You can partake in anti-black activities, etc., etc. And I think that's probably a better explanation of, even though, like, you know, you use anti-African or Afrophobic.
What's an example of anti-black activities, Bob?
Bare things, isn't it? Like anything that I would say, generally speaking, I'd say anything that you got me there actually. Anything that depletes your natural way of being, if that makes any sense. I don't know.
For example,
no, I don't follow you. Anti-black.
Okay. I'm being very vague. I mean, to be honest, okay, if we take the system of capitalism, yeah, I think all activities that we partake in which support capitalism are anti-black, because the system is built on anti-blackness, period. So it doesn't matter what we do, it's just degrees of anti-blackness.
I feel like you're copping out, you know.
You feel like I'm copping out? No way, fam. No way, fam.
Well, come again then, man.
No. That is
because the only reason why I say that is because we're all living under what you just described.
Yes, indeed.
So
what do you think I'm saying then? With that said, what do you think I'm actually saying?
I don't know, babe.
That we're all anti-black?
Yeah, 100%. If you're partaking in, listen, when people are talking about redesigning or redefining systems for our benefit, yeah, or going back to Africa and trying to construct something that fits more with our nature, yeah, you know, certain man will be heading back there and bringing their capitalist ways back to Africa, and I'm not on that, innit? Like I identify that as an anti-black move. Personally.
So now you have to define what black is then, innit?
No, I'm saying, yeah, the capitalist system was so this label of blackness, yeah, you can probably find different etymologies of the term blackness in different languages, negros or whatever you call it, I don't know. But in the sense that I'm talking about, I'm remembering the fact that we were called black, and in the term black was used to define us as subhuman in some way as well, right? And that system, that act was the underpinning of capitalism as we know it today, right? So therefore, by default, and everything that we're doing inside of the capitalist system is anti-black. Yeah, we're basically, all of the benefits that we have in the West, yeah, are direct results of the oppression of our ancestors. Like, you can't really get away from that. By that definition, I'm saying that everything we're doing inside the capitalist system is anti-black.
All right, fair play, Bob. I hear that.
The thing is, sis, I can hear in the tone of your voice that you think this is abstract. Like, it sounds like to me that you're calculating.
It's not even that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm chewing at
A one?
No, I'm telling you what it is. It's a mayo went, man. It's something sweet, man. But I am listening. No disrespect, man. That's what I said. Fair play. I hear you. When you gave your context.
Whoa, wait a minute. Did you say mayonnaise? Mayonnaise? Did you mention mayonnaise? Mayo?
No, they're called Mayhem Joystick.
Okay, I thought you had put mayonnaise on it. I was about to challenge your blackness.
Yay! It's really juicy. Now, witness, my Twitter said, no boy can challenge me, man. No boy. No boy.
So this about to be some like. So I'm trying to understand the thing here. So
yeah.
I thought I thought the direction you were going with anti-blackness was something that was synonymous with COON, right? Like that term. So like those type of like things that people would put under that category would, meet the criteria for anti-blackness type of acts. But
what underpins this idea of someone being a COON? Like what is it? Okay, if you say someone is a COON,
well, man can't say cool no more. I don't get it.
Yeah, you can. I just don't really like the word like that.
Yeah, I don't really use that word either. Still,
no, it's not that man likes the word, yeah. But if I'm gonna say cool, I'm gonna say cool. Like I don't call my people nigger, but if I'm gonna say nigger, I'm gonna say nigger.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's being it. You get me? Like I don't say what's up, my nigga. But if I'm gonna say nigga, I'm gonna say nigga. Innit? That's my thing. But yeah, innit? Go on. I don't say the N word, for example.
Right.
You get me? I'm not gonna say he called him an N word. I'm gonna say he called him a nigga. That's just me.
I say the N word. I'm like, oh my god, he just said
I'm not one of the N word guys, man.
I'm happy to say what people, the type of person people refer to as a coon. I'm happy to say that, but I'm not going to use it to like label nobody.
I hear that. No,
okay.
I don't agree with that.
So the anti-blackness is not like a substitute for the word coon, is what you're saying?
Definitely not. I've followed a little bit of Afro-pessimist academia over the last couple of years, and really the anti-blackness thing is more of a how can I put it? It's a concurrent system that runs alongside white supremacy. Obviously, it's almost like you can't say it's whiteness because it's a little bit different. Anti-blackness is, I don't know what, to make it more simple, yeah. For me, blackness. This is a tough one, you know. The blackness itself, to me, is has transformed from an oppressive reality to a force to create a counter reality in the world. That's kind of how I see blackness. That might be more of a political or philosophical. What's that noise, by the way? Who's that?
Oh, I think that's a Shakara coming from.
Sorry.
Yeah, blackness for me. In my personal definition, has gone from being an oppressive reality to a reality shaping tool of resistance That's kind of how I define it now. But the recognition of that reality also facilitates that reshaping, if that makes sense. So where anti-blackness is concerned, I suppose any effort to create obstacles to that new shaping of reality, to me, could be called anti-blackness, I suppose. Is that confusing?
I don't know. I think 90th and 99 and melanated goddess.
It's just the melanated she was asking.
Yeah, it's sounding so like I probably have to read up on this anti-blackness, to be honest with you.
So what, I mean, from your perspective, what did anti-blackness mean? Just simply like what people would term cooning. What is cooning for you in the first place?
Well, I think when it comes to like white supremacy, definitely supporting it and or like minimizing the impacts of white supremacy.
Let's make it easy. I mean, melanated goddess is doing a great thing explaining it. She's doing a wonderful job, but simplify it for those who are really stupid out there. I mean, what you're saying is brilliant, but in answer to M.A. Brown's question, Uncle Ruckus, that's a cooning, Uncle Ruckus.
No, but that's very simplistic. That's quite a specific.
Okay, I'll give it to you now. Yeah. Barack Obama.
That's another specific. You get me?
No, do you know what I've heard it? Yeah, I've heard it being apologetic on the white person on other communities, or jumping in front of the firing line to answer for them in ways that they're not even answering for themselves.
Obama's a coon. Witness, did you say Obama's a coon?
I don't believe he is, but I've heard a lot of people say that.
Nah, man, I won't have them say that about Obama. No, Obama took a black woman to the White House. No way.
But this comes to what I was saying earlier. Like if you're a black person and you get involved in politics, you are seen as a coon.
He dropped 1,000 bombs. There's no way he's a coon.
Yeah, but he falls into that trap by the black police. If you're black and you get involved in mainstream politics, you're not black enough.
Nah, not for me. No, well, that's where I disagree, man. But I rate Obama. You know what I mean? As freaked up as his politics may have been, that man took his Nubian woman beside him, and he'll always get my ratings for that, man. Fuck that.
M.A. Brown. M.A. Brown, you know, you were asking the question about what is cooning. Everything is everything, who seems to be really on fire tonight, says if you have to ask what cooning is, you're not from the culture, even if you're black. Do you understand what that means? I don't know.
He's saying what? He's saying if you have to ask what cooning is,
you are not from the culture, even if you're black.
Tell my man to shut up, man.
Everything is
we're here trying to dissect things, isn't it? We're not making assumptions.
Like everything is everything. If you should understand that we're on a live show, and there's a need to define certain things for a conversation. Like,
don't watch that though. Anyway, man. Differently, man. We know we're on track. So, yeah, man.
I'm tempted to implement some military dictatorship here and just silence him for good, you know.
Oh, watch that, man. Kushti, anyway. Big up to the thing.
Hey, Kushti, how are you? Pleasure to have you here.
Big up. My surprise when I see Constructive Convos still on live, I thought,
Yeah, we thought we'd do it a little different today. You get me? No time limit. Just relax.
Okay, well, I keep late, but I'm hearing people call themselves like that, so I'm thinking, let me try and catch up.
Yeah, so now.
Yeah, people.
Sorry, yeah. Now, what we're talking about? What is cooning?
Yeah, that was the question, which because before it was asked what is anti-blackness, and M.A. Brown described it for us, and then now the question that's been asked is what is cooning, and that's where we are now.
I see.
But the cooning thing, I think I personally wouldn't loiter too long on that word because I don't think I think in many ways it's not a useful term. It's not descriptive enough. I think part of the problem of, I mean, we've just tried to define that word. We still haven't really got nowhere. We've just named a bunch of people. There's no actual description of.
I like B2's definition. I like B2's definition that he gave. To be honest with you, it was pretty along the lines of what I would say.
Yeah. So.
And was that partaking in the system?
Huh?
Was that something about partaking in the system?
No, it was about advocating for people outside of the community jumping in the line of fire to protect and defend them, even when they're not necessarily defending or being apologetic themselves. Do you get what I'm saying? So making excuses for them and the rest of it. But you know what? What's interesting though, the most I've ever seen the word being used is on the Hangouts, and more time the context that it's being used in, really it comes down to we both don't agree on the same values or points. I therefore feel I'm more pro-black than you, therefore you're a coon by default.
See, this is why I think the term itself is not actually helpful, man. It don't really. It's not scientific. It's not scientific. It's not surgical enough for me to.
It's not measurable. It's not nothing.
This is a throwaway comment. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just trash, man.
It's very subjective. It's very subjective, and you can choose to label someone a coon if you want to. Like it's no way to say, okay, I'm not because of X, Y, and Z. If I choose to label it, because it's so subjective.
So subjective, not measurable. It's like real recognize real, man. To the people it matters to, like that kind of thing that's below, man. It's just like what Shakara said. It would just be nonsensical to even address that, like, because it just wouldn't even make sense. So I'll just leave that one to the. You know, You
know what I just thought of? Being vegan is like you not black though. I can't front. People be acting like you white or something because you vegan. That's really shady.
These are all the stupid. This is the kind of stupid conversation I was talking about. Like, if someone's gonna drop that, you know that it's not gonna be no. It's just gonna be a dumb conversation, isn't it? Like, if someone ain't evolved enough to understand that, like, veganism isn't a white thing, as in it's called the term veganism might be a European term, but the idea of plants is definitely not a European thing, fam. It's more of an African thing.
So basically, what we've been saying all night, and what it fundamentally comes down to, is can lifestyle choices make you not black, or can they make you black?
I think they can't make you black or make you not black. They can. I think you can partake in. Again, this is the anti-black thing, isn't it? Like, for me, I think next time I come on, I might have to bring some with me because I can't really freestyle on this subject too tough. But I think you can partake in anti-black
lifestyle choices,
practices. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean they're not going to be black. For me, the biggest coons, I would say, and the staunchest Pan-African rebel, whatever. They're both instances of the collective blackness, isn't it? Like, the black condition is so varied, it's so varied across the world. You're gonna find black people who are about the field, and you're gonna find black people who are in the field. You get me? So, in the house, but they're still black.
Of course.
You know what everyone said here reminded me of this quote from a brother called Bobby E. Rat. Because he's somebody who he don't like the coon or the Uncle Tom or kind of thing, And he in a speech he said, our biggest is that we have no contradictions.
Say that again, you cut out there, bro.
Sorry, Bobby E. Rat. I was saying Bobby E. Rat in a speech. I remember him saying that our biggest contradiction is that we have no contradictions. And what he means is that All of our behavior is very consistent with the process of oppression that you've been through. Do you know what I'm saying? And he said the reason why he don't call people Uncle Toms and nothing like that is because we have the right to have sick people too.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
We have the right to what, Shaka?
Have sick people too.
To have sick people too.
Yeah.
And that relates to what I was trying to explain to in that convo we was having earlier off there with Mr. Lee and that. You get me? It's not just our community who has things wrong. You know what I mean?
See, now I understand that, yeah. And I think, you see me, okay, even that, I think that's a much healthier standpoint to begin with, that being the case. And I'm saying to you. But many of us don't even acknowledge that we might even be sick in the first place.
Good point.
Some of us are going out to try to do our DIY medication. You understand? It ends up in conversations like this. What do you say?
I'm laughing. DIY medication.
You know what the deep thing about what you just said is that, and I'm not calling anyone on this panel sick, by the way, but just using derogatory terms for your brothers and sisters might be a sign of sickness too, isn't it?
Wait, can we all put our phone on mic when mute when brother MA speaking, because it's like a crazy feedback when he's talking.
Yeah, I was saying I'm not calling anybody on the panel sick, but using derogatory terms for our brothers and sisters might even be a symptom of sickness as well. And I think it's important. I don't think that there's any end to the dissection and the investigation that we can do of ourselves in it. I think that's an important journey. But yeah, I think that's a deep thing from what 99 Ether just said about us not realizing that we're sick. I think, the biggest challenge is to actually identify which parts of us we're going to keep and which things we're going to dash away. And I think, yeah.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think that a lot of times what we do is we address the symptoms of the sickness. You understand? So like, and we address it, we condemn it, we label it, we do all of these things, but we don't ever get to the cause of the sickness, which would be the bacteria or the virus or X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
We just talk about the stuffy nose. We just talk about the sneezing and X, Y, and Z. So it's cool. You know what I'm saying, to call somebody a bati boy, or they gay, or they this, or to call a woman a thigh, or she a roller, or she's whatever, but you never address, the sexual trauma that they experience, and that led to these behaviors. You never address, these even, somebody like R. Kelly and what he experienced in his childhood. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's so easy. All we do is focus on the symptoms, but we don't focus on the cause. So then when you say somebody is, you're not black enough, how do they get to thinking the things the way that they think, the things that they think, speaking the way that they speak, liking the things that they like, taking opportunity to learn, taking opportunity to grow and be exposed to something that's different, instead of just labeling the symptoms that you see. That's, stupidity.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that. It's a massive challenge, isn't it? I don't think any people on the planet have the challenge that we have in terms of undoing all of the complication that that's landed on our laps, isn't it?
But it's also who we are allowing to push our narrative, though.
Yeah, 100%. Do you know what? Like, I was thinking this week about I had I put up a post last week or earlier this week. No, last week, about Sarah Garvey, and it was about Tommy Robinson or whatever it was, yeah. And then one sister chimed in and she raised the subject of him being an agent and stuff. And funnily enough, I think our biggest problem is not whether this is a bit of a sidetrack, but not really. I think our biggest problem is not who the agents are. Our biggest problem is the influences that already exist in the global culture and in our culture as a people that create certain types of agency for certain types of agendas. So man can be an agent and not even know it and not even getting paid, and no one's told him directly. I'm talking about man in general. Anyone can be an agent for a particular agenda and they have no idea that they're actually on job. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense, Aoife?
I hear that, man. But at the same time, like, they're not gonna go, like, you know. For me, yeah, I hear you, bub. But remember, certain agents have got. Let me mute up, man. I hear
you. Lad, if she's not saying that one still.
She said, let me mute up.
Yeah, you tagged me in that post, yeah?
Yeah.
The only reason why I didn't comment is because I'm yet to have certain conversations with my brother in it. So,
yeah, man.
Like, it'd be proper to come on the thing in it and say that, yeah.
No, I respect that.
That's that Shakara, man. I tell you, Shakara is my big younger brother. You know, he do everything in decency and order.
I try to, but yeah, that's what it is. Like, but I got where you were trying to go in it. You know what I'm saying? That and what it is that you were trying to say, where that is concerned. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, and I feel like in a sense, yeah, because in a sense, what you were doing was challenging him on a standard of blackness. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
So, like, in a sense of whether his stance on a particular issue serves the best interest of us as a group.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? That's what I'm saying. And I think that that's the essence of what this idea of being black enough is about. Yeah, I think it can be perverted in other ways. You know what I'm saying, and serve other agendas. But in essence, that's what it is. And when we're talking about oppression, and us coming out of that, in a sense, there's a process. In as a part of that process, definition becomes very important.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? How we define ourselves and what serves our interests and what does not. Yeah, and the balance of it is that because that definition will grow and evolve. So I'm saying that we have to have the flexibility of definition, but we also have to assert definition at the same time.
Yeah, because that's the only way to create definition, isn't it?
Exactly, right? But and so that it's like that's the nuance or that's the tightrope that we're kind of treading at the moment. You see what I'm saying in terms of what serves our interest, what kinds of behaviors, contribute to a culture that allows us to develop ourselves. What kind of behaviors do not? And then how do we reinforce those behaviors and disencourage those other behaviors among us? You see what I'm saying? And that's the tightrope that we're fighting. And so sometimes I feel like it's like we're fighting against that definition, but in doing so, we're not realizing sometimes that we're defining ourselves according to the oppressor's definition by default, because the oppressor's definition is the dominant definition.
Yeah,
100%. You see what I'm saying? It's like, you know what I mean? So I might not define myself as a meat eater, in the same way that the person who's vegan defines themselves as a vegan, because meat eating is the dominant diet.
Yeah.
So if I'm not a vegan, generally speaking, I'm eating what everybody else is eating.
So I wanted to because when the show started, my brother in the red was just spitting red flames. He was wow, flame on. You know what I'm saying? Like he was flaming. So I want to understand. I want to get a sense of from Brother Witness, based off of, because I think Shakara really summarized it well. when people put the pressure to say you're not black enough, what from what I was gathering in his summary, it's more so they're stating that you you support or endorse things that may not be in the best interest of the group, or it's at least it's apparent that that you're not doing that, and therefore that's where the judgment or the pushback that you're receiving. What are your thoughts on that? Like he did say that yes, that's the premise of it, but it has been pushed past those boundaries. But I'm just saying, just right there in those boundaries, what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on what was said is I don't have a problem with that. I agree with that.
Okay,
So
cool.
yeah, so I can't argue against it because I don't have a problem with that at all. It makes absolute sense to me. So yeah, I am in agreement with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So it's just when it gets pushed to the level of just nitpicking and criticizing, everything about your being that has nothing to do with, you being in support of the best interest of the people. That's when it's like, okay, come on, like.
Yeah, exactly. So when you are attacking, I think Terry was saying it as well, but most of us agree with that anyway. But yes, Shakara then spelt it out again, which nobody here on this hangout disagrees with that. If if it's an attack on your own people, politically, musically, verbally, socially, then yeah, you need to be re-educated, and the errors of your ways need to be pointed out to you. But if you're a vegan and someone says you ain't black enough or you're not being black, well, that's just, as M.A. Brown said, that's just downright stupidity, and you don't even need to address it. So yeah, in regards to what Shakara says, yeah, I think everybody here is in 100% agreement. That's how we felt anyway. So yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And if you play rock and roll,
if you play rock and roll and you have a problem with it, go read your history.
Yeah,
you need to thank the likes of Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters, who else? Jimi Hendrix.
Jimmy.
Who else? Who else created?
Muddy Waters, yeah. Muddy Waters, a great guy,
What about like eating sushi? Like, oh.
Blood seed.
Yeah, I mean, I've been exposed to like different types of people, and I mean, I was like, yo, y'all wildin', y'all eat sushi. Whoa, that's different right there. Like, they don't got sushi in Brooklyn and Flatbush. You know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't eating that. But I don't know about that right there.
Now you're allowed to have slip ups, innit? You know what I was saying earlier on about the system and about capitalism and that. Like, to me, like that's the thing we really need to get away from, innit? And that's the hardest thing to get away from. Like, there are other things we can find other alternative ways to operate in this life, but the financial system, I think it's going to be hard. Do you know what the thing is? With capitalism comes other corrupted influences, in it, and we can see that. So the financial system itself, the idea that you can, and it's a mad idea really, that you can store wealth. If we were living off land, yeah, and we had to rely on things to grow, and if the thing don't grow, we're not wealthy, innit? There's no wealth. Like, we have to wait for the thing to grow. We have to plant the seeds. We have to irrigate the land. We got to do all those kind of things. And so the fruits of our labor come when they're supposed to come. You can't really store them too tough. With capitalism, and this is the problem with capitalism, is you can store an infinite amount of wealth and keep that disproportionate amount of wealth away from other people. And I don't think that's a very African way to operate, personally, in my estimation of what I feel like Africanity is underpinned by. So with this capitalist system, I think as long as we're in it and as long as we're operating in that way, other ills are going to come with it, just by default. And everybody's silent.
Yeah, man hears it still.
No, I agree that there, it definitely it's anti-collective, anti-village, anti-community. Definitely, I agree.
On a lighter note, I think it's time to watch some Game of Thrones. So.
I'm vexed. Scattered is gone. I wanted his opinion on the last episode. Still,
can I just ask you, like, I've never
I
seen.
need to cut it out.
I've never seen this Game of Thrones. Yeah, Kasu had it on in the background the other day. I refuse to look at the screen. I still ain't seen it. I just heard some Lord of the Rings type noises in the background.
yeah.
What is it about this thing? Like, what is it? Please, someone try and break it down for me a little bit.
So, all right. So, Game of Thrones, is a series. It's a series of books, and I haven't read the books. Written by a guy called George R.R. Martin. It's basically one of them fantasy epics that are based upon medieval Europe, and them kind of things there. And so, like, to begin with, there was some good storytelling in it, you know what I'm saying? And it's quite an epic kind of thing. Like, I don't know that a TV show has ever been produced on this scale before. So if you enjoy that kind of thing, you're going to enjoy it. It's interesting to me I'm always interested in how people represent their history and their culture in their art.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? And so definitely in Game of Thrones, you're gonna get that in terms of Europe. Yeah, the writer explicitly presents that, like, says that this is based upon, the history of Europe, medieval Europe. And he'll give you examples of, things that happened in the French monarchy, you know what I'm saying, that influence, particular scenes or storylines or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I watch like Kung Fu movies as well. You know what I'm saying? Because I enjoy the choreography, but it's always interesting to me to see how the Chinese represent their history and their culture and their to themselves. You know what I'm saying? So you get a lot of that with Game of Thrones. Other than that, as an artist, I enjoy a good story, and generally, like, well, at least to begin with, the storylines are interesting. Beyond that, like, there's some epic, like, kind of blatant European debauchery that goes on this thing, like, and it's madness.
I heard there's like bare, like, rape and
bare, but at the same time, it's if you understand anything about the period that inspired him, it's completely consistent. With what the people that was dealing with. It's just what I'm saying. So yeah, it's very interesting, like. So yeah, you have to work through some of the sticker kind of side of what I'm saying, the culture, the experience in that regard. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but that's kind of what makes it interesting in terms of how they represent those ideas. Like there was one time when so in the books, the women, there are certain women characters that are not raped, that were being raped in the TV series, and that got to a head. And I remember watching one, like, because after Game of Thrones, they usually have this discussion program called Thronecast, and this woman was basically saying that she's gonna soon start reevaluating her relationship with the show, because she wants to know who is it behind the scenes and why that is deciding that these women who are not raped in the book are going to be raped on screen. You see what I'm saying? And so those kind of sociological conversations are interesting to me as well.
It'd be good. It'd be good if you wrote up a little something on it just from that perspective. That'd be really interesting.
All right, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. You know what I mean?
But it's interesting what you said about Kung Fu movies as well.
Say again?
I said it's interesting what you said about Kung Fu movies as well.
Yeah.
You say man watches it mainly just to see man get rock up in it,
Yeah. And I don't know, I enjoy that too. Like that the choreo. I see. Like in terms of, because I enjoy. I like synchronized swimming. Yeah. Like, I don't watch it regular, but I enjoy watching. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I hear you.
Like, I don't know. Say it?
No, I hear that. You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I'm saying that the only time I ever really watch it is like when the Olympics are on and it just randomly, you know what I'm saying? I don't know when they do it. I don't know where the competitions are, nothing like that. Yeah. But I realized when I was young that something about this synchronized arts, choreography, that I enjoy. Like kung fu movies, the choreography, the art of it, I enjoy it. But when you study the storylines, and the history and how the Chinese understand themselves and the relationship among themselves and their various divisions, their relationship with European colonizers, their relationship with the Japanese and the Koreans, and you know what I'm saying, you get all these things in there as well, innit? So it's very interesting. Like the kung fu or the art is just a conduit to tell those stories. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, it's a similar thing with Game of Thrones, isn't it? Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But it's some people. Well, a lot of people are vexed because they took the storyline some next place. I'm not gonna get no spoilers in it, because I don't think witnesses watched it yet. But yeah, this episode, I'm trying to figure out what was going on. But yeah, that's just the.
Hey, did you see the the Marvel thing? Yeah, what do you call it? Endgame. No, yeah, my man's what's his name? Thanos, the fuck, what's it called? The glove or whatever it is. The thing that he wears on his hand. Yeah, it was taken from. Did you see where? Yeah, did you see the story about where it's taken from?
No.
It's like it's an African relic, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah. So Marvel back in the day actually were inspired by. I'll try and find it, but yeah, it's
I'll be interested.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah, but yeah, Marvel and they stay teething things from Africa still, like African mythology. It's regular, it's normal out here. But yeah, what's it called, Witness? I'm interested to know your perspective on the Game of Thrones thing.
I think it's a fantastic piece of fantasy.
Are you one of those people that don't like the latter seasons?
The latter seasons, you said?
Yeah.
Well, the problem with that happened when how should I put it? When well, basically when the series started to, basically they ran out of material because the writer had only written a certain number of books, and the TV show had progressed past it. So now we're in the world where we're basically watching something which is not really coming from the writer; it's coming from the TV people. So you can tell the pace, the narrative pace of the story has changed. They still make it entertaining, but a lot of things just don't feel right. And I think it's because it's past. Basically you're now watching a show which is no longer directly based on the author's writing. It's now based on other people putting their stuff in, so it's lost its edge. It's still entertaining, but it's.
I agree with you, but I did, and I wasn't, because I'm not actually like I watched the show, but I'm not like a fanboy in it. Like I'm not that passionate about it.
Sure.
So I wasn't really criticizing it that much in terms of it still had entertainment value. But this last episode, like, I've kind of joined the chorus of heavy critique.
On the last episode, like I said, the only thing I liked about this current episode is Daenerys Targaryen, what she did. I'm thinking she should have done that months ago with her dragon.
I didn't like it. If she did it months ago, it might have made more sense to me.
Yeah.
But after all that, for what she did, I didn't. Yeah, I thought I did. I don't understand why they did that.
I was saying to Scott and Minds that I'm guessing here, had the writer actually had he written novels up to this part, I believe what would have happened is Daenerys Targaryen would have come, and that we would have been going through the trials and tribulations that she would be going through, trying to conquer the kingdoms and unite them as one. And the final battle would be against the White Walkers. That's what I believe would have happened. But instead, that's been rearranged. They've changed that completely. It's like for more than 6 seasons, we were shown the power of the White Walkers and the menacing, affair of the White Walkers, and then they just get rid of them. It's like in, episode.
Have you read the books?
No.
Yeah, no.
I spend a lot of time on YouTube channels where people tell you about the extra stuff in the books.
But the audio books are on YouTube as well, right?
I've seen some of them. Yeah, I haven't listened to them, but I've seen some of them. Have you been watching the animation though? The prequel animation?
No.
Yeah, it's called History and Law. If you just type in YouTube, it just shows you.
They're doing a TV series on that, don't it?
Which I think is pointless because they've already been doing like the animation.
Okay.
For 7 seasons, and you get to see how House of Stark became Stark, how Lannisters became House of Lannister.
Okay.
So you get to see all of it. You get to see how Aegon Targaryen conquered the 7 kingdoms with his sisters who he married. You get to see all this stuff in the animation. So you get to see the prequel. So I think prequels are stupid. You need to do sequels. Prequels, everyone knows what's going to happen. We already learned that from Star Wars when they did the prequels. That didn't go too well.
Yeah.
And they did it with The Hobbit, didn't they? That was a prequel. That flopped as well. It wasn't too good.
Did The Hobbit flop? The Hobbit flop.
I wouldn't say flopped, but it wasn't anywhere near critically on the same level as Lord of the Rings.
That was more or less impossible. Like, Lord of the Rings is one of the biggest movie franchises ever in history.
Yeah.
It was impossible to top that.
True, very true.
I don't know who would have topped that, to be quite frank.
But I don't want to bore our colleagues here, so I'll stop talking. So I don't know whether Melanated might want to. I don't know.
Yay! Game of Thrones! Woohoo!
I was actually thinking maybe you'd want to, I don't know, disconnect us out, take us out. I don't know. Maybe that.
I haven't said that though, yeah. So for Gotquish TV, yeah, I write a show called The Insight. We've been off for a month, but we're coming back on Monday coming, and I'm going to be addressing this issue of the lack of black characters in Game of Thrones. And my breakdown features Scattered Minds as well. So check that out.
Oh, you see, I'm telling you, man. That's why I rock with you, Shakara, because that's been like every time we talk about this Game of Thrones thing, I bring it up to Witness and I bring it up to Scattered Minds because they're like, Melon, why don't you just watch it? Why? And I'm like, man, I'm just not interested in.
Well, to be honest, Kushti did the same thing you did. She asked Scattered Minds and I had the same. Kushti did the same thing you're doing. She asked us questions about it as well. So yeah, it's good. I like those questions, and they should be addressed. The questions you're asking, they should be addressed. They're very.
Yeah, so I'm glad, Jacara, that you're going to be talking about the black characters. Because I think I would have probably, if it was like, if it was a show about like a town that was just a little bit more diverse, a little bit more mixed with some of us and some representatives of us, maybe I would feel more of a connection to the show itself. But
my lack of connection.
But you know what? No, because I know I might have poor reception, so I'm trying to.
No.
Okay, but I'm I may give it a shot. I may try one episode. Oh, I think they said 2. Do I have to watch 1 or 2, Witness?
When you watch 1, you'll want to watch the 2nd episode.
Really?
Absolutely. I can relate to that still because I started watching this thing when it was in its 2nd or 3rd season. I didn't even know. I was late to the thing, innit? So yeah.
So then I'm gonna. Well, I work tomorrow morning, so I have to go to sleep.
Yeah, I'm about to black out still too as well. Yeah.
Ethan 99, Kushti, ladies, Constructive Convos.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm over here talking and my phone is on mute. I don't know what happens to y'all. Oh my goodness. I was saying that, well, you know, it seems like the show's just gonna end right now since, you know, like more of on a natural passing through, you know, always from on CC and brings that information. You know, that's always.
Careful, you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
And am I breaking up?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Because I know I can't hear you guys. Okay. Yeah, so I just want to say peace and love to the family, peace and love to the chat. Make sure you like up the video, you know what I'm saying, and hit that notification bell just so that way you get the notification as we go live. And what's today? Monday. We don't have Shakarai, whenever. Make sure you subscribe to Shakarai Speaks and Got Kush TV, because as you can see, he's bringing that content. You don't know where it's coming from. It's just content. It's just information, right? So you subscribe to, you know, some of our neighboring channels, you know, content over everything. You know what I'm saying? Scattered Minds is the name of the channel. And can't forget 9 Ether 99, right? That's the name of her channel. Make sure you get you some rice and peas on Sunday. We working on this Black Media networking together. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for stopping through the Constructive Convos family. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Bless up, family. Big up.